Chapter 150. Curly Moon, who had shrunk to the size of a normal snake, was confused. She looked at Lin Yuan, who was coiled up in front of her, and instinctively felt that something was wrong, but she couldn't put her finger on it. Lin Yuan hadn't caused any trouble for a long time, right? Ever since Bloodclaw died in the Stoneclaw Forest, Lin Yuan had been in a sage mode. How could he cause a war between the mountain-blocking city and the Stoneclaw Forest? Curly Moon was dumbfounded when she heard the news. Moreover, it wasn't just Zhanshan City alone. Many demon slayers from the nearby cities were probably attracted by the generous rewards offered by the Liu family. By the time the war broke out, a conservative estimate was that the number of demon slayers that would rush over would not be less than 5,000. Moreover, they had the support of various city lord manors behind them. Their resources and equipment were all top-notch. It wasn't something that a few demon slayers could compare to. Curly Moon looked at Lin Yuan, and Lin Yuan looked at Curly Moon. The atmosphere suddenly became quiet. The demon slayers had chosen the perfect time. If they had released the news earlier, Lin Yuan wouldn't have agreed to let Curly Moon enter the Stoneclaw Forest. After all, if all the nearby Beast Kings were mobilized, Lin Yuan wouldn't be much weaker than the humans. It wasn't impossible for him to take advantage of the situation to launch a counterattack. But now, let the surrounding beasts of the Beast King organization come over to help Lin Yuan guard his territory? It was already kind of them not to hit him when he was down. The main thing is, I can't tell Sir about this. You know, I've been avoiding Sir recently. Curly Moon replied, feeling a little guilty. The heart of the purgatory was getting closer and closer to maturity, but the relationship between Lin Yuan and the nearby Beast Kings didn't improve at all. Although the Beast Kings gave Sir face and said that as long as Lin Yuan didn't leave the Stoneclaw Forest, they wouldn't do anything to Lin Yuan. But this was obviously far from what Sir had expected. Curly Moon, who had caused all this, naturally didn't dare to meet Sir. Even if Sir sent messengers, she would reject them with the excuse of being seriously injured or not feeling well. The current situation fully explained two things. 1. The heavenly Tao is good at reincarnation, but who will the heavens spare? 2. If demons seek death, they will really die. While Lin Yuan and Wan Yu were fretting over this, a flying demonic beast in the outskirts of the demonic beast forest had already alerted them. The first batch of vanguard troops organized by the Demon Slayer Guild had already rushed into the monster forest like a hot knife through butter. All of them were airborne realm fighters, and there were a total of 800 vanguards. Lin Yuan estimated that if he didn't put up any resistance, the enemy would be able to rush into the Stonedlan forest in one breath and suffocate Lin Yuan right there and then. The nearby Beast Kings also received the warning, but they all chose to ignore it. Anyway, they all knew who these humans were after. At most, they could just wait for these humans to kill the Black Serpent and take back their territory in the Stoneclaw Forest. Getting rid of a thorn in their side, they could also take the opportunity to expand their territory. It was simply wonderful. Lord Beast King, we are now. The silver-haired Bay slowly walked to Lin Yuan's side with the help of a frost wolf. Its pair of slightly turbid eyes looked up and down, as if it wanted to see how Lin Yuan would deal with it. With the current strength of the Stoneclaw Forest, it wouldn't be a problem for them to arm wrestle with the humans. But it would only be arm wrestling. The Demon Slayer Guild would directly send a punch over. They didn't intend to test each other at all. This time the humans' tactic could be said to be simple and crude. Wait. Lin Yuan replied expressionlessly as he coiled his serpent body. Oh wait? Wait for what? The Bay subconsciously responded, but it realized that something was wrong. They were about to rush to your face. What could you wait for? Wait for death? Wan Yu pondered for a moment, then lowered her voice and said, although I don't know your origins, I can feel that the bloodline in your body is incomparably pure. I estimate that it's not much different from the Orthodox Dragon Clan. Therefore, the person that Lord Beast King chose to pluck must be none other than you. Today's matter is probably within Lord Beast King's control. It's waiting for you to put down your pride and ask for help from the nearby Beast Kings. Once you've learned your lesson, it will naturally protect you. Lin Yuan glanced at his Flood Dragon status bar and was speechless for a moment. He wasn't even an official Flood Dragon right now, but in the eyes of these monsters, his bloodline was already pure? Just how mixed were the bloodlines of the dragon bloodline monsters in this world? Beat me? Is it worthy? Lin Yuan silently replied in his heart. Today, as long as he was willing to put down his pride and ask for help from the nearby beast kings, he was certain that even if the main force of the humans came, they wouldn't be able to take his life, let alone the vanguard. But from today onwards, he could no longer raise his head in front of Lord Beast King. In the future, he would have to do whatever it said. What do you say? Are you going to ask for help? Wan Yu tilted her head and looked at Lin Yuan with an expression of listening to him. Of course I'm going. If I don't ask for help, I won't be able to pass this hurdle. Lin Yuan spat out his snake tongue and said with a smile, Old Bei Zhuiying, the two of you go to the nearby beast kings and ask for help. Remember, you have to be arrogant. Tell them that if I, Black Snake, die in the hands of humans today, the first thing I'll do before I die is to lead those purgatory monsters to their territory. When Lin Yuan's voice fell, all the monsters present felt their breathing stagnate. Wasn't there something wrong with this method of asking for help? Weren't you the one asking for help? Why did you make it sound like others owed you? Go. Remember to be arrogant. If the other party says no, just turn around and leave. Lin Yuan calmly reminded them. Old Bei and Zhuiying of the Hunting Wind clan looked at each other and suddenly felt that this idea was extremely feasible. The Scarlet Flame Swamp was a disaster area. Even the demonic beast forest outside had turned into a barren land. If it wasn't for the demonic beasts that came from the depths of the Hengduan mountain range, hunting down the inferno demonic beasts that escaped, a large part of the demonic beast forest surrounding the Hengduan mountain range would have disappeared. Lin Yuan had the assistance of the demon fire prawn, Mo Luo, so he was able to withstand the attacks of the purgatory monsters. However, on the other side of the purgatory fire field, it was a different story. A few territories that bordered the Scarlet Flame Swamp were constantly in war. The current foundation of those territories was even inferior to Lin Yuan, who had been constantly fighting since he took over. As for the monsters that viewed territory as extremely important, they didn't have any thoughts of seizing the opportunity to invade the territories. After all, whoever the purgatory monsters touched now would die a horrible death. Lin Yuan was the only exception. Chapter 151. With Lin Yuan's current relationship with the Beast Kings, even if Lin Yuan knelt down and begged them, they would not send reinforcements to help Lin Yuan fight against the humans. Thus, begging was far less effective than threatening at this time. After all, the purgatory beasts were not only capable of killing and destroying, they could also summon purgatory flames for a short period of time. Everywhere they went, everything would be scorched, and the number of spiritual items produced in their territory would greatly decrease. Correspondingly, the number of demonic beasts would also greatly decrease. Just look at the Scarlet Flame Swamp. The Scarlet Flame Crocodile King had once been a good father of the desolate demon realm. It could be said that it had abused its power in the Hengduan mountain range. Other than Lin Yuan, the ruthless bastard, there were very few beast kings that had not suffered at the hands of the Scarlet Flame Crocodile King. Every time there was a change in power, the Scarlet Flame Crocodile King would swallow a large piece of territory. The Scarlet Flame Swamp was indeed very large. Strictly speaking, it was at least 4 times the size of the Stoneclaw Forest. However, there were only a few hundred Spirit Awakening Realm demonic beasts and 12 Wisdom Realm demonic beasts that were still alive. Moreover, before the Scarlet Flame Swamp was completely cleared of purgatory flames, there would be no more production. This was the terrifying aspect of the purgatory beasts. Right now, there was a black snake that they disliked in front of them, so their territory was safe and sound. If the black snake died under the demon subduing Master Guild suppression, the purgatory beasts would still spread into the demonic beast forest, but more of them would invade their territory. Thinking along this line of thought, the old wolf in Zhuiying's eyes became brighter and brighter. This was not Lin Yuan kneeling on the ground and begging the beast kings to send reinforcements. This was the beast kings kneeling on the ground and begging Lin Yuan not to die. That's right. Tell the beast kings that if they send reinforcements, they can directly go past my territory and attack the humans in the demonic beast forest. Don't sneak into my territory in the name of helping out. I don't care what their goal is. As long as they dare to come in, I will definitely kill those ignorant fellows. Lin Yuan narrowed his heterochromatic eyes as he added this sentence. The principle that one must always be on guard against others was especially applicable in the jungle. Although the nearby beast kings weren't stupid enough to destroy themselves, the Green Swamp clan and the other clans whose territories were further away from Lin Yuan didn't think so. In any case, without the black snake, there would be other beast kings to help them resist the inferno demon beasts coming out of the Scarlet Flame Swamp. Therefore, killing Lin Yuan was still their #1 priority. Demonic beasts were indeed not as stupid as humans, but they always lacked some principles and lessons. For example, the matter of how the lips are gone, the teeth are interdependent. Only when Lin Yuan pointed it out would they suddenly wake up and feel that Lin Yuan could not just die like this. All right, don't just stand there. Let's go. Lin Yuan patted the ground with the tip of its tail. Only then did Old Bei and Zhuiying set off towards the other Beast King's territories. Lin Yuan turned his head and glanced at Na Qin. He said in a deep voice, "How is it? Still no news?" Na Qin nodded. His voice was like thunder as he said, "Yes, Big Brother Mendu disappeared after leaving the Stoneclaw Forest. I asked some of the nearby demonic beasts, but they all said they didn't see Big Brother Mendu. Understood?" Lin Yuan responded. He felt a faint headache. He had sent Mendu to investigate the relationship between the Scarlet Flame Crocodile King and the Green Swamp Clan. He didn't expect Mendu to not return. If it were other demonic beasts, Lin Yuan might have thought that Mendu felt that there was no future in the Stoneclaw Forest and fled to another Beast King's territory. But the problem was, Mendu's loyalty to him had already reached the maximum. The Stoneclaw Forest and the Stoneclaw Clan. No matter how one looked at it, there was no possibility of Mendu betraying Lin Yuan. "Lord Beast King, do you know something?" Na Qin asked tentatively. Under Lin Yuan's nurturing, Na Qin, whose aptitude wasn't bad to begin with, evolved from a Class 9 demonic beast to a Class 1 Wisdom Realm demonic beast in the past month. His intelligence and strength were far greater than before. Especially when Mendu wasn't around, he even vaguely replaced Mendu as the leader. But Na Qin also seemed to be very loyal to Mendu even when Lin Yuan privately suggested that he replace Mendu and rule over the Stoneclaw clan in the future. Na Qin sternly refused. He said that as long as Mendu returned, he would give Mendu the position of leader. "I have some ideas, but I'm not very sure." Lin Yuan nodded and said, "If I'm right, Mendu should be safe for the time being. After repelling the attack of these humans, I will go and scout the situation. My Stoneclaw clan is willing to be the vanguard." Na Qin cupped his fists. A blazing flame suddenly appeared in his eyes. It seemed that as long as Mendu could return, even if he was told to immediately die, he wouldn't even blink. This child. Is he stupid? Wan Yu quietly moved to Lin Yuan's side and asked. As a veteran Wisdom Realm demonic beast, although Wan Yu wasn't as old as the three-eyed ape, according to the age of demonic beasts, if the three-eyed ape was in his twilight years, Wan Yu should be in her prime. In her eyes, Na Qin could only be considered a child at most. Of course at this moment, Wan Yu couldn't tell that Lin Yuan wasn't even a year-old demonic beast. After all, Lin Yuan's body was already close to 300 meters long. Except for him, who would grow in size every time he advanced, the other demonic beasts' bodies were all slowly growing. This is called being honest. Lin Yuan rolled his eyes and unhappily replied. Then he turned his head to look at Na Qin and indifferently said, "Based on the progress of the Demon Slayer Vanguard, they will need at least 5 more days to break through the demonic beast forest. In these 5 days, there will naturally be other demonic beasts blocking them for me. What we need to do is to make preparations and wait for the final battle." Unlike Lin Yuan's indifference, when the surrounding beast kings received the news from the old wolf and Zhuiying, they all flew into a rage. What was wrong with this black snake? Didn't it even have the attitude of asking for help? They weren't the kind of beast kings that didn't have much foresight. As long as the black snake was willing to lower its stance and talk to them and give them some benefits, what was wrong with sending troops to repel those humans? Why did it have to use such a threatening method to communicate with them? Did these beast kings not care about face? Okay, we will go back and reorganize the demonic beasts under our command. Those humans wantonly invading the Hengduan mountain range means that they don't put us beast kings in their eyes. Even if the black snake beast king didn't say anything, we will not shirk our duty. After an awkward silence, the nearby beast kings still chose to follow their hearts. Chapter 152. Demon Beast Forest. A golden-haired archer with 2 pointy ears was carefully moving through the forest. All of a sudden, the archer's ears twitched. He quickly turned around, drew the arrow, drew the bow, and released the arrow. This set of movements was as natural as moving clouds and flowing water. The arrow that left the bowstring accurately shot through the head of a black lizard. A level 8 monster beast that was famous for its stealth and assassination didn't even have the chance to attack. It was killed by the arrow of the other party in a second. Oh, not bad. In the darkness, a cold voice sounded. The archer's handsome face didn't have the slightest ripple. He just silently put away the longbow and stepped forward again. Ta, ta. 2 footsteps sounded. A cold dagger was placed on the archer's neck. The attacker also slowly revealed his figure. It was a young man wearing a purple martial arts robe. He looked to be in his 20s. His body was thin, and his skin showed a kind of sickly pale color. His black bangs drooped down and covered his eyes. But even so, the archer could feel that there was nothing but ruthlessness in his eyes. I say, with your strength, isn't it better to follow the archer group of the main force? The black-haired young man licked his lips and coldly said, You have to be the vanguard to open the path in the demon beast forest. Don't you know that once an archer like you is alone, you will only have a dead end? Chi the archer sneered. Immediately, a trace of ridicule flashed across his handsome face. He slowly said, 800 vanguards, in addition to the demi-humans like me, are criminals with bloody hands like you. Follow the main force? Well, you can follow them. Hearing the word criminal, the black-haired young man's wrist moved. However, a sharp arrow quietly pressed against his chest. He was confident that his blade was very fast. But when he cut the enemy's throat, this sharp arrow would also penetrate his chest. Indeed, the 800 vanguards were either criminals or demi-humans with demon beast blood mixed in their bodies. They had to unconditionally participate in any war and were often assigned to the vanguard battalion. Under such high pressure, these fellows' minds were not normal. These 800 vanguards, in addition to hunting demon beasts, were also hunting each other. It had already been more than 8 hours since they entered the demonic beast forest. In these 8 hours, the number of vanguards that had died at the hands of their own people had already reached 300. The remaining vanguards had already dispersed long ago. In this forest, everyone was the hunter, and all other life forms were the prey. Shadow Walker, Xiaofan, want to team up? The black-haired young man took the lead and showed a bright smile to the archer. However, the hostility in his eyes didn't weaken. Xiaofan, from Emerald Forest. The archer nodded and put the arrow in his hand. The 2 top hunters joined forces and once again cast their gazes into the forest. Similar scenes were not rare. Just like how ferocious beasts would never associate with a flock of sheep, these vanguards either formed small but high-quality teams or simply continued to move alone, clearing out other demon beasts and their comrades along the way. On the other side, in Lin Yuan's lair, criminals? Demi-humans? Hunting each other? Interesting. The corner of Lin Yuan's mouth rose slightly. He nodded at Na Qin, who was using spider sense to monitor. These vanguards moved very quickly, and the strongest group had already entered the range of the admirable spider sense. In reality, the range of the admirable spider sense was mostly within the demonic beast forest. At most, it could only cover less than 1,000 miles of the Stoneclaw forest. After all, he had the territory model, and the system would naturally notify him of anything that happened within his territory. He didn't particularly need the spider sense skill. The vanguards that were hibernating in the demon beast forest still didn't realize that they had walked into a spider web that Na Qin had already weaved. Lord Black Snake, how should we deal with these vanguards? The corner of Na Qin's mouth twitched. He felt that he couldn't understand these humans. Nominally, they came to crusade against the Black Serpent, but after entering the demonic beast forest, they decisively removed the layer of civilization on their bodies and did not hesitate to kill their own comrades. Just the number of corpses that he had scouted out numbered in the hundreds. Each of the corpses was too horrible to look at. Even demonic beasts would find it difficult to create such a badly mutilated corpse. Communicate with them and see if we can take them for our own use. Lin Yuan's gaze fell on Su Nan, who was standing beside him, and said expressionlessly. Na Qin understood and quickly reported a few coordinates to Su Nan. Yes. Su Nan nodded slightly and kept quiet out of fear. The last time he saw Black Snake was only 2 or 3 months ago. At that time, Black Snake was only a Class 7 demon beast. But now, Black Snake had already entered the wisdom state. If Su Nan hadn't seen it with his own eyes, he would definitely scoff at such a terrifying advancement speed. He would think that it was just a fantasy story. However, seeing this scene at this moment, Sunan became more and more convinced that Lin Yuan was the ancient demon emperor. Demi-human. Lin Yuan lightly chewed on this title. A hint of playfulness flashed across his heterochromatic eyes. The elves and beast men from the fantasy novels in his previous life actually existed in this world. However, they didn't have the qualifications to challenge humans in this world. In the territory of the 7 great empires, their lives were worse than pigs and dogs. Then, was it possible to take such a force for his own use? Sunan bowed slightly and casually picked a few assassins from the association of the Demon Emperor and slowly disappeared into the forest. Ever since the death of the three-eyed ape, humans had been eager to test the hunting rights of the Stoneclaw Forest. Including this time, humans had already organized 3 large-scale wars. The first was for blood spirit, the second was to cooperate with the Liu family, and this time they were directly targeting Lin Yuan. The repeated provocations had already pushed Lin Yuan's patience to the limit. This time, if the main force of humans could withdraw from the Demon Beast Forest, it would be his loss. Outside Zhanshan City. Move out. The purple-eyed youth expressionlessly put on a black mask on his face. Behind him, there were 35 human cultivators wearing the association of the Demon Emperor's uniform. All of them were in the airborne realm. Following the purple-eyed youth's order, these cultivators put on the masks in their hands simultaneously, drew the standard sabers at their waists, and walked toward a supply team that had just left the line of sight of Zhanshan City's sentry tower. Chapter 153. It's snowing. Lin Yuan slowly raised his head, and a light flashed in his heterochromatic eyes. From the time he came to this world, it should have been at most a year, right? From a weak little black snake that could only devour mice, he had become the all-powerful beast king of today. Pure white goose feather snowflakes slowly fell. Very quickly, the earth was dyed white. According to Na Qin's spider sense, the vanguard was still slowly advancing. Their numbers had already been sharply reduced to 150. The top assassins under Sunan's command had already come into contact with the demi-humans that Na Qin had given the coordinates to. However, both sides were at daggers drawn and had yet to speak. The other beast kings have already dispatched their troops. Zhuing slowly walked behind Lin Yuan and said in a low voice. In the few territories bordering the Stoneclaw Forest, there were 3 beast kings that could be considered as capable. One was a level 4 wisdom realm white deer. It was said that the bloodline in its body was noble. In the depths of the Hengduan mountain range, there was a powerful but few tribe. Every word and action carried a lot of weight in the Hengduan mountain range. Even the red flame crocodile king had to be courteous when it saw this white deer beast king when it was alive. One was a level 3 wisdom realm King Kong. It was said that it was a branch of the mountain shaking ape tribe. It didn't have the ability to control rock elements like the mountain shaking ape, but its body was incomparably tyrannical. It could be said that it was invulnerable. Ordinary sharp weapons couldn't even scratch its skin. There was also a cold pond crane. Its strength was unknown. Its territory wasn't large. It was only about a third of the Stoneclaw Forest. However, the monsters that lived there were all Wisdom Realm monsters. That place was like a meat grinder that would never stop. Every day, countless Wisdom Realm monsters would become the food in the stomachs of other monsters. Although the remaining Beast Kings had the title of Beast King, their actual strength was very laughable. Any of the 4 great clans at their peak would be able to sweep away those so-called Beast Kings. Unfortunately, Blizzard, Boulder, and Pingqiu were existences that had been suppressed by the three-eyed ape for most of their lives. They simply didn't think of leaving the Stoneclaw Forest. Otherwise, the surrounding Beast Kings would have to change sides. Lin Yuan pondered for a moment, then turned his head to look at Sunan and said with a frown, "Go and urge them. If those Beast Kings see me in contact with humans, even if they don't say it out loud, they will still find trouble with me in private." Yes. Sunan bowed slightly and turned around to pick out a few subordinates. However, this time, Sunan did not let his subordinates directly contact the scouts. Instead, he personally led the team. At the same time, at the edge of the Demon Beast Forest, within the main camp of the Demon Subduing Masters, an old man with iron-gray hair and beard stood up. His figure was tall and slender, and at a glance, he was full of muscles. If it weren't for the deep wrinkles on his face, One wouldn't even be able to tell that he was an old man. How long has it been? Why hasn't the rest of the supplies arrived yet? The old man took the coat handed over by his subordinate and put it on. He cursed. Is my Xinwu dynasty rotten to the core? In such a deadly war, how dare these little bastards delay the supplies? Do they want to drag it out until those mountain and river lords of the Hengduan mountain range join the war? The demon-subduing masters wanted to launch a blitzkrieg. Taking advantage of the fact that the big shots in the depths of the Hengduan mountain range had yet to react, he directly swallowed the black snake and the stoneclaw jungle in one bite. When he turned around and wiped his mouth, who would still recognize the contract between the previous city lord and the three-eyed ape? Yes. They are too ignorant. Commander, please calm down. I will go and urge them. Before the subordinate at the side could finish his words, the tent was suddenly opened by someone. Immediately after, a figure covered in blood rushed into the tent. He shouted at the old man in an incomparably mournful voice. Commander, bad news. Our first batch of supplies has been robbed. The brothers in charge of escorting the supplies are all dead. Their heads were chopped off and turned into decorations. There were also many traps set up. Some of our brothers in the scout team wanted to collect the corpses, but they were ambushed. We lost close to 60% of our men. Hearing such bad news, the commander's body swayed slightly, and he almost fell to the ground. The first batch of supplies had been robbed. That meant that their main force could only march so far. If they went any further, it would mean that their supply line was cut off. Everyone could only bring what was left of their rations to fight the demonic beasts. Just thinking about such a life was a kind of torture. More importantly, the 800 Vanguard members were all crazy. Setting up traps and poisoning the water source was a basic operation. Following behind this group of people, wanting to find usable supplies was as difficult as ascending to the heavens. Who dares to rob our demon-subduing masters? The old man steadied himself and panted heavily. His eyes were red as he asked. I didn't see any living people. However, there were a few corpses on the ground. Other than our brothers, the rest of the dead were dressed the same. They were all the handiwork of the Demon Emperor Association. The scout covered in blood thought for a moment before replying in a low voice. In fact, they all knew that since the other party could chop off the heads of the corpses to make decorations and set up traps near the corpses, how could they not have the time to take away the corpses of their own men? Obviously, this was either a show of force or a framing. The scout thought about it and felt that the other party was more likely to be a show of force. After all, a group of people who believed that the ancient demon emperor had revived and was about to break the rule of the 7 great empires and rebuild the ancient demon court were also extremely crazy. They were the type that never took the normal path. Demon Emperor Association. It's them again. The old man clenched his fists tightly and gritted his teeth as he muttered. Send people to the demonic beast forest. No, don't bother about those Vanguard members. A group of sinners and demi-humans. Once they leave our sight, it's the same as personally unlocking their shackles. If we don't kill a group of ferocious beasts like these who have been let out of the iron cage, there's a possibility that they will devour their masters at any time. The old man narrowed his eyes slightly and said in a deep voice, Inform everyone on duty. Other than the necessary defense, everyone else is to disperse. Go to the rear and capture those bastards from the Demon Emperor Association. Captain, this? The close subordinate opened his mouth and said helplessly, Those members of the Demon Emperor Association are all lunatics. If we disperse our men, it's hard to guarantee that they won't attack the camp. Once something happens to the camp, I'm afraid the morale of the army will immediately collapse. By then, the entire situation will be out of control. Captain, please think twice before you act. Captain, please think twice before you act. The servant who was covered in blood knelt down on one knee and echoed in a deep voice. After being schemed against by the Demon Emperor Association, he was now extremely terrified. He would rather dive into the demonic beast forest and kill the demonic beasts than face the Demon Emperor Association again. Chapter 154. Think thrice before we act? Tell me, how do I think thrice? The old man asked with a gloomy face. At this rate, if we don't resist, the association of the Demon Emperor will continue to nibble away at our supplies. When the time comes, the entire supply line will be broken, and none of us will have a good life. But we can't just scatter our men. We must leave some spare men in the camp. The subordinate licked his lips and argued. Moreover, as long as we scatter our men, the Association of the Demon Emperor will definitely think that we don't have enough men. Who knows, they might really attack. At that time, wouldn't it be perfect for us to catch a turtle in a jar? Inside the tent, the three men were arguing. At this moment, outside the camp, the purple-eyed youth, who was wearing the mask of the Association of the Demon Emperor, slowly raised his right hand. His clenched fist slowly loosened. Immediately, 18 assassins wearing the Association of the Demon Emperor's uniform swaggered over the wooden wall where the sentinel was assassinated. Their cold eyes were fixed on the tents that had been set up. Remember our mission. Don't linger. Leave after setting the fire. The purple-eyed youth whispered again. After receiving the affirmative answer from his subordinates, he slowly nodded his head and took the lead to rush into a tent. After a moment, the sound of throats being cut and groans slowly came out from the tent. The rest followed suit. They each chose their own targets and flew into the tents. A swift and silent slaughter was quickly unfolding. In fact, although the subordinates of the purple-eyed youth could be said to be well-trained, they were still far from professional assassins like the Shadow Walker. If the ones resting in the camp were the members of the advance party, then this assassination operation would have ended before it started. It was a pity that all the beasts and hunters had been released into the monster forest to fend for themselves. As for the main force that was left to build the camp in the periphery, it was a bit of an insult to them to call them young master soldiers. In any case, they had lived around the Hungduan Mountains for many years. Their strength and experience were actually not bad. However, the long-term comfort made them forget to maintain the most basic vigilance, so as to avoid not being able to react when danger approached them. Shaking off the blood on the dagger, the purple-eyed youth walked out of the tent. With a gentle toss of his right hand, a fire seed landed on the tent. Hula! In an instant, a huge fire rose. In the distance, some cultivators wearing the attire of the Yao Emperor's Association were fighting with Demon Vanquisher Master. The purple-eyed youth was not surprised by this. After all, he had only brought a group of bodyguards assigned to him by his family. They were not professional assassins, so it was only a matter of time before they were discovered. But now, the purple-eyed young man glanced around and saw that nearly one-third of the tents had been set ablaze. He nodded his head in satisfaction. He put his finger to his mouth and whistled. Then, he tapped the ground with the tip of his foot and swiftly rushed out of the camp. The surrounding subordinates who could quickly escape from the battle also forced their opponents away. They didn't even look at their comrades who were still in a bitter battle as their figures swiftly swept away. At this moment, the old man in the overcoat walked out of his tent with large strides. Looking at the burning camp, the old man's face kept twitching. He had guessed that the Yao Emperor's Association's next move was to attack their camp. However, he thought that no matter how arrogant these people were, they should at least know what it meant to court death and what it meant to launch a surprise attack. In the end, the other party's movements were too clean. He hadn't even sent his men out yet, but the other party had already completed the entire plan to attack the camp. They were so skilled that it was as if they had practiced it countless times and then performed it for the spectators who had already been buried in the sea of fire. Bastard! Where do you think you're going? The old man roared and rushed forward. His right fist seemed to carry the force of 1,000 catties as it fiercely smashed into the body of one of his subordinates, directly smashing him into a pile of meat paste. From the moment the old man started to the moment he stopped to gasp for breath, he had only walked a total of 300 steps. However, in these 300 steps, he had killed 8 cultivators who were charging forward without any regard for their own lives. In order to cover the retreat of their teammates, these people actually took the initiative to endure the attacks of their opponents and used their bodies to buy time. It's a big fish. The old man had been defeated twice in a row. However, a hint of eagerness flashed in his eyes. There had never been a true death warrior in this world, especially those who walked to the extreme. They valued their own lives more than anything else. If they were willing to sacrifice themselves for their comrades, then there was only one possibility. There must be an extraordinary person among those who had just escaped. Chase! The old man called out to his team members and then rushed in the direction of the purple-eyed youth. At this moment, the other leaders of the demon-subduing group slowly walked out of their tents. Some of them even had sleepy eyes on their faces, looking as if they had just woken up from a dream. When they woke up, they realized that nearly a third of their tents had been completely set on fire. The flames were almost shooting up to the sky. Quick! Put out the fire. Although the pale-faced Hua Sonyong didn't understand why things had turned out this way, she was a strong career woman. Therefore, she reacted faster than the other demon-subduing masters. While commanding the noisy and panicked demon-subduing masters, she began to circulate the true qi in her body to suppress the flames. No one noticed that the demon-subduing group led by the old man had quietly left the camp and separated themselves from the main force of the demon-subduing masters. This was because everyone's attention was completely focused on the sudden fire. They really did bite me to death. The purple-eyed youth led his 5 remaining subordinates and sped through the demonic beast forest. There were about 30 demon-subduing masters following behind him. The leader was the old man he had met before. Almost there. Almost there. The purple-eyed youth kept encouraging himself. Even though his body had reached its limit, he didn't show any signs of slowing down. This was because he knew that if he was caught, all he had to do was show his identity. No matter how bold the other party was, they wouldn't dare to do anything to him. However, if that happened, all his efforts would go down the drain. Even the family behind him would no longer have a place for him. This was because they could tolerate him being friendly with the demonic beasts. Roping in a group of demonic beasts to deal with another group of demonic beasts wasn't a problem. However, they absolutely couldn't tolerate him mingling with the demonic beasts, or even directly joining the demonic beasts to fight against the humans. His family couldn't afford to lose face like this. Chapter 155. Huff. The purple-eyed youth let out a long sigh of relief. He had finally arrived at his destination. Only 2 of his subordinates were left behind. Almost all of them had fallen behind and were killed on the spot by these guys. They didn't even get a chance to question them. Run! Why aren't you running anymore? The old man's mocking voice sounded behind him. Although he wasn't a demon slayer who made a living in Zhongshan City, he had heard of the famous Stoneclaw Forest. After all, not all demon beasts could subdue the humans near their territory and force them to sign a series of unequal treaties with them. Old mister, have you ever heard of the saying, "Don't enter the forest when you see it"? The purple-eyed youth faintly smiled and pressed the Association of Demon Emperors mask on his face. He slowly said, "Although I don't know who you are from your reaction speed, compared to those amateur demon slayers, you should have spent some time in the army, right? To be able to train to such a level, could it be that you're a member of demon suppression?" The old man's expression didn't change in the slightest after the purple-eyed youth exposed his background. He only paused for a moment, narrowed his eyes slightly, and said, "You even know about demon suppression? It seems that my guess was right. You're really a big fish. If I can catch you, even if Zhongshan City is lost in the end, I'll still be able to receive a large sum of money and live out my old age peacefully. It's a pity that you won't be able to live out your old age." The one who spoke wasn't the purple-eyed youth, but Lin Yuan, who slowly slithered out from the darkness. The huge black snake stood behind the purple-eyed young man. The visual impact of this scene was quite terrifying. Even the old man was stunned for a while before he could react. After all, it wasn't that there weren't any organizations similar to the Association of Demon Emperor, but most of them were people with evil intentions. They used the name of a powerful demon beast to do some unforgivable things. Just like the few most famous ones in the Hengduan mountain range. They would have a large number of followers, but in fact, they didn't know any of these followers. However, the scene before his eyes had indeed overturned all the old man's previous understanding. This guy was actually related to demon beasts. Damn it! The old man cursed in a low voice and frowned. We have to report this. Thinking up to here, he subconsciously raised his head, only to see Lin Yuan, who was standing behind the purple-eyed youth, slowly revealing a cold smile at him. Immediately, the old wolf, Wan Yu, Na Qin, Zhuiying, and the other monster beasts all appeared beside Lin Yuan. Pairs of ruthless eyes fell on the old man. In an instant, the old man gave up on the idea of a head-on breakthrough. But the moment he turned around, he saw countless cultivators wearing the uniforms of the Association of the Demon Emperor. They all had a mocking look on their faces, as if they were looking at a group of mice that they had sent to their plates. The fire is really big. Lin Yuan narrowed his heterochromatic eyes and whispered. But to the old man, these words were especially ear-piercing. Because at this moment, he realized that apart from a few members near him, No one else had followed him into the monster beast forest to capture the purple-eyed youth, who was suspected to be a member of the Association of the Demon Emperor. In other words, he was now completely alone and without help. It was impossible for him to charge out on his own. Therefore, his fate would completely depend on Lin Yuan's mood. The 30 or so monster slayers who came with Lin Ding had completely given up on resisting. After all, there were more than 10 intelligence perception realm demon beasts in front of them, and at least 100 Association of the Demon Emperor members behind them. No matter which side they chose to break out from, they would be courting death. The only thing they could do now was to form a defensive formation and wait for reinforcements to arrive. "You're called Lin Ding, right?" Lin Yuan spoke again, instantly activating the tyrannical song of the world. His voice had an inexplicable majesty to it. "Yes." The old man nodded. For some reason, he subconsciously answered Lin Yuan's question. "Right now, the lives of you and your brothers are in my hands. If I raise my hand, none of you will die. But if I don't speak, even if you stubbornly resist, you will be exhausted to death by me sooner or later. Am I right?" Lin Yuan opened his serpentine mouth and asked again. "Yes." Lin Ding nodded again, subconsciously agreeing with Lin Yuan's question. Even his mind gradually went blank. For a moment, he even thought that Lin Yuan's words made sense. "Then from now on you will answer whatever I ask. If I'm not satisfied with your answer, or if you are lying to me, I won't give you a second chance." A cold glint flashed across Lin Yuan's heterochromatic eyes. When he spoke again, his voice was extremely magnetic. Lin Ding couldn't help but listen carefully. 10 minutes later, the raging fire was finally extinguished. A monster slayer with a face full of soot frowned and said in a deep voice, "This isn't right. I've already cleaned up the corpses of our brothers. Why is there no news of Captain Lin Ding and his team members? I saw Captain Lin Ding chasing after them. Do you want to go and take a look?" Another cultivator who was in the middle of transporting resources casually added. "Forget it. I know my own strength." The cultivator who asked the question first took a deep breath. This was the periphery of the demonic beast forest. Even if the members of the Association of Demon Emperors didn't come looking for trouble, the rioting demonic beasts were enough to give him a hard time. What was the difference between going out alone and seeking death? The cultivator who was transporting supplies thought carefully. He narrowed his eyes and said, "Speaking of which, although this isn't a big deal, it's definitely not a small matter either. Close to a third of the campsite is on fire. Captain Lin Ding happened to be on duty. No matter what, he should give us an explanation, right? Why did he just run away? Could it be that Commander Lin Ding embezzled that batch of supplies and ran away with his men?" "Don't talk nonsense." A monster slayer who was passing by frowned. His expression was somewhat unfriendly. After all, he was a member of Lin Ding's monster slayer group. After putting out the fire with great difficulty, he realized that his captain and many of his brothers had disappeared. Compared to the other monster slayer group's ridicule, they were the ones who were in the worst mood. Besides, Lin Ding had been a monster slayer for close to 20 years. His reputation had always been good. There had never been a case of him stealing anything from his employer. In addition, close to 80% of the supplies this time were sponsored by the city lord residents. They would have to return them after they finished using them. After all, they were all equipment and supplies from the city guard army. Why did their captain steal all these things? Did he have a death wish? He wouldn't be able to get past the checks of the other cities with these things. Could their captain cross the Hengduan Mountains and go directly to the other empires? Chapter 156. Lai Shan, Hua Sanyang, Blind Qin. Lin Yuan muttered these three names with an expressionless face. Even if he wasn't a native of this place, during his time as a beast king, he had heard a lot of these names from the mouths of the Gravel clan and the wisdom perception monster beasts that had come to rely on him. Almost every one of them had their hands stained with the blood of countless monster beasts. Especially that guy nicknamed Blind Qin. Quite a few beast kings that weren't weaker than the three-eyed ape had died in his hands. That year when the three-eyed ape swept through the entire Zhongshan city, this Blind Qin just happened to be participating in a mission similar to the Black Snake Crusade, in another city. Otherwise, the city lord wouldn't have signed such a shameful contract. As for Lai Shan and Hua Sanyang, They could be considered as rising stars in recent years. Although they were very famous, they had never taken the head of a Beast King-level demonic beast before. Lin Yuan reckoned that the one this group of people wanted to kill the most wasn't the possessed Feng Tian, but Lai Shan and Hua Sanyang. After all, killing a Beast King and killing an ordinary demonic beast had a completely different treatment in the Demon Subduing Master Association. Is it very troublesome? Wan Yu narrowed her eyes slightly as a cold glint flashed past. It wasn't a demonic beast from the periphery of the Hengduan mountain range. The Demon Subduing Master Association was getting worse with each generation. In the early years, the entire Hengduan mountain range was a hunting area for humans. But now, humans wanted to use the demonic beasts in the Hengduan mountain range to restrain each other's military power. Most of their attention was focused on the other 6 dynasties. Therefore, as long as one left the periphery of the Hengduan mountain range, it was almost impossible to find the human demon subduing master. Wan Yu really didn't know about these guys who only had a little reputation in Zhongshan City. It's not troublesome. I just want to confirm who is the one courting death. Lin Yuan calmed his mind and his eyes once again blossomed with vigor. He sneered. These demon-subduing masters all think that they can eat demonic beasts alone just because their strength is a few stages higher than the demonic beasts? I think they've all forgotten that the physique of demonic beasts below the heaven realm is like mud. A swordsman who could cut down demonic beasts of the same realm? Lin Yuan wanted to know if he could cut through his flood dragon scale armor with the second stage golden body technique. A woman with countless bootlickers? Lin Yuan also wanted to know if her lovers would have the guts to enter the Stoneclaw Forest to seek revenge after he turned her into a skeleton. The only person worthy of Lin Yuan's apprehension was Blind Qin. This man's real name was unknown, and the only thing he had was a battle record that reeked of blood. Normally, he did not reveal himself, but when he bared his fangs, even running away was an extravagant hope. Ever since the three-eyed ape and the other older generation of demonic beasts had passed away, only Lin Yuan and Men Du were left in the Stoneclaw Forest. Other than a few beast kings that had been sent down by their clans to train, the rest of the beast kings were at most Wisdom Realm level 3. If they were placed in the depths of the Hengduan mountain range, they wouldn't even be able to hold the position of commander in the Green Swamp clan. In the previous era, Blind Qin was a ferocious person who shook the entire Hengduan mountain range. After all, the three-eyed ape was already extremely close to the Mountain Lord realm. If Blind Qin could kill a few demonic beasts on the same level as the three-eyed ape, this meant that Blind Qin was most likely a Heaven Realm expert. At the very least, he had touched the threshold of the Heaven Realm. Lin Yuan's gaze paused on Wan Yu for a moment. He organized his words and slowly said, "If I let you fight with a Heaven Realm expert, how long can you last?" "I've never fought before, so I don't know." After a moment of silence, Wan Yu turned her head to the side. Those below the Heaven Realm were all ants. At the Heaven Realm, physique was no longer a human's shortcoming. Even demonic beasts like the three-eyed ape might not be able to do much. She was only a Wisdom Realm level 5 demonic beast, so if she fought with a Heaven Realm expert, wasn't she just courting death? Suddenly, Wan Yu turned her head and stared at Lin Yuan with a burning gaze. She said in a deep voice, "You can't be telling me that there's a Heaven Realm expert in the main force of the humans this time, right?" These years, the days in the depths of the Hengduan mountain range had gradually become more peaceful. This was because the 7 empires were afraid of each other, so they set up an unwritten rule that Heaven Realm experts were not allowed to enter the Hengduan mountain range without permission. Even if they wanted to enter, they had to inform the other 6 empires and obtain more than half of their approval before they could enter. However, rules were dead while humans were alive. There were no loopholes in any rules. Heavenly Dipper Realm experts would still enter the Hengduan mountain range, but they would definitely not cause too much of a commotion. Unless there was really a precious treasure that was worth the hatred of the other 6 grand empires. Under such circumstances, only then would a certain grand empire allow their Heavenly Dipper Realm experts to enter the Hengduan mountain range to fight for the precious treasure. Right now, they were only going to suppress a black snake, so why would a Heaven Realm expert appear? I'm not sure. He might be a Heaven Realm expert, or he might just be close. Lin Yuan shook his head. The Hengduan mountain range was also aware of the unwritten rules between the 7 grand dynasties. If Blind Qin was really in the Heaven Star Border realm, if Heaven Realm expert was truly a Heaven Realm expert, the Xinwu dynasty would definitely not allow him to run amok. Or it could be said that with such strength, Blind Qin would not need to stay in a remote and desolate place like Zhanshan City to make a living. He would even have a place in the capital of the Shenwu dynasty, Tianjing City. Even if he's close, he's not someone I can deal with. Wan Yu straightforwardly shook her head and said with a serious expression, Black Snake, we're only in a cooperative relationship. I'm only doing all this for the sake of survival. However, please don't treat me like one of your subordinates who would rush to their deaths with a single glance from you. But the problem has to be solved, right? A trace of hesitation flashed across Lin Yuan's heterochromatic eyes as he said in a deep voice, If you let him go, the lord behind you might directly intervene. At that time, when he's done flexing his muscles, the nearby beast kings might not dare to provoke me anymore. At that time, only death awaits you. Are you threatening me? Wan Yu was slightly startled and asked in an unfriendly tone. I'm just asking. Why are you so nervous? If you're really not a match for him, then I can only compromise this once and unwillingly become the harvester. Lin Yuan sighed and said faintly, Since I'm going to die anyway, I might as well contribute to the other demonic beasts, don't you think so? Wan Yu silently looked at Lin Yuan. She had a feeling that this black snake was hinting at her. What did he mean by, since I'm going to die anyway? For example, contributing to the other demonic beasts? Listen, is this demonic talk? Wan Yu let out a long sigh and said in a deep voice, I definitely can't deal with such an existence alone. You have to think of a way to contact the nearby beast kings, especially by Lu, King Kong, and Handan Crane. Chapter 157. Heh. Lin Yuan sneered, as if mocking Wan Yu's wishful thinking. After all, Wan Yu, the demon involved, wanted to shirk the responsibility immediately. If the news of dealing with a Heaven Dipper realm powerhouse spread in the circle of beast kings, those guys would rather deal with the endless stream of purgatory demon beasts than grit their teeth and use their lives as a weight to bet on Lin Yuan. At that time, the demonic beasts that had just left the territories of the various beast kings would probably be called back to their territories by the beast kings. After all, no one was willing to offend a Heavenly Dipper realm powerhouse for a black snake that wasn't liked in the first place. Actually, it's not that hard. As long as they are angered and take the initiative to find trouble with humans, wouldn't it be fine once both sides kill each other? Wan Yu suddenly laughed sinisterly. The demon subduing Master Guild had a clear goal for targeting the black snake. If it wasn't for the fact that they had to pass through the demonic beast forest to enter the Stoneclaw forest, they might not even be willing to provoke the low-level demonic beasts in the demonic beast forest. It was obviously impossible for them to anger the other beast kings. But even if they didn't go, someone else would. If it were any other beast king in Lin Yuan's position, they would have no choice but to wait for death or delay their deaths to invite the Lord to help them. But Lin Yuan was different. He had people. He didn't only have a bunch of demonic beasts under his command. Regardless of whether it was the subordinates brought by the system youth or the demon emperor who had already become the designated scapegoat, they all had enough power to accomplish this task. He did not need all the beast emperors to be blinded by rage and attack the demon slayers. He only needed the beast emperors to feel that the humans had entered the Hengduan mountain range not just for the black serpents, but for the beast emperors as well. Lord, this is Xiaofan and this is Xiaofan. Just then, Sunan walked over with a face full of joy. Behind him were two similarly slender and skinny figures. They were the two scouts that Na Qin had mentioned earlier. You're the so-called demon emperor? Xiaofan sized up Lin Yuan and pondered for a moment before asking with a face full of disdain. He then lowered his voice and said, That's all there is to it. Xiaofan was obviously not as talkative as Xiaofan. He just looked at Lin Yuan impatiently from time to time, as if he was extremely disdainful of Lin Yuan's strength. Is it important whether I'm the shifter the arch or not? Lin Yuan lifted his eyelids and activated Sing Tyrant of the World again. His voice gradually became more dignified. The relationship between the members of the Council of the Demon Emperor and me is similar to the relationship between the Demon Slayer Guild and the Demon Slayer Guild. If I give them benefits, they will work for me. Therefore, what you should be concerned about is whether I can give you what you need, and what price you need to pay in exchange for it. Xiaofan and Xiaofan looked at each other and saw a hint of interest in each other's eyes. They were not ordinary people. Compared to the majority of the members of the Council of the Demon Emperor, they were more disgusted with human society. However, they did not have the intention to destroy human society. They just wanted to get rid of the prejudice the world had against them. From your expressions, I can roughly guess what the two of you need. Lin Yuan grinned and said mockingly, but please forgive my bluntness. The reason why you are not liked is mostly because of your background. Especially the demi-human called Xiaofan. After all, you are an abnormal existence living among humans. I am not a god, so I can't change other people's views of you. If someone can promise to do all this, then you don't even need to think about it. You can be sure that the other party is lying to you and just wants to squeeze you dry. Xiaofan and Xiaoxiu kept looking at each other, but at this moment, their eyes flashed with astonishment at the same time. They never thought that the demonic beast in front of them would be so intelligent. Just by looking at their expressions, it was able to tell what they wanted. Just as Xiaofan and Xiaoxiu were about to speak, they fell silent again. The black snake in front of them was very scary. Just from their actions, he could see the desire in their hearts. This strange way of speaking was as if the black snake had a mysterious mind-reading technique. However, after being spied on by the black serpent, their first thought was not to fall out with him. Instead, they felt that this black serpent was more reliable than the people from the Demon Masters Guild. After all, those people did promise that after killing the black serpent, they would help them wash away the stains on their bodies and let them live like ordinary people. However, they had heard similar promises too many times. Moreover, those people simply treated them as tools and threw them aside after using them, let alone fulfilling their promise. Then I think we have nothing to talk about. Xiaoxiu shrugged his shoulders. His eyes were terrifyingly cold. He said in a cold voice, "Thank you for reminding me of a bad memory, so I am in a bad mood now. Since you are of no use to me, I want to kill you." As soon as he finished speaking, Xiaoxiu's figure had already dashed out. In just an instant, Xiaoxiu escaped into the darkness of nothingness and completely disappeared in front of Lin Yuan. But I have another way to change the way the world sees you. Lin Yuan was indifferent to Xiaoxiu's brazen attack. There was not even a trace of ripple in his heterochromatic eyes. Bas! The high-speed vibrating dagger hovered in front of Lin Yuan. Xiaoxiu's figure also appeared from the darkness. After a moment, Xiaoxiu licked his lips and said in a dry voice, "Let's hear it." The black snake was not a noble of the 7 great dynasties. It was just an inconspicuous demon beast in the Hengduan Mountains. Although the weight of its promise was not as great as that of those powerful people, it definitely had a certain degree of credibility. Otherwise, it would not have said that those guys were lying to them. It was the same for all living things. As long as there was a glimmer of hope, they would work tirelessly. It did not matter even if it was a moth flying into a flame. Power. As long as you have great power, no one in this world will dare to treat you as an alien. Lin Yuan blinked his eyes and said slowly. Hearing that, Xiaoxiu choked for a moment. First of all, he had to admit that what the black snake said did make sense. If they possessed a power that even the 7 majestic empires feared, then indeed, no one would dare to say that they were of a different race. In fact, they would even try their best to curry favor with them on the surface, fearing that they would lose their lives if they made them unhappy. Chapter 158. However, that was the crux of the problem. What kind of existence was it that even the 7 empires were afraid of? The Hengduan Mountains? The Dragon Palace of the 4 Seas? Or the sects that were rooted in the 7 empires? Although they were much stronger than ordinary people, in the eyes of the 7 empires, they were just ants that could be easily crushed. They couldn't even fight against the unfairness of fate. They knew that if they fought with their lives, they would only be cheated again and again. However, other than their lives, they had no other bargaining chips. You don't have such power now. It can even be said that you won't have such power in your entire life. Lin Yuan attacked Xiaoxiu mercilessly while swallowing and spitting the snake. Nonsense. Xiaoxiu looked like he was going crazy. He said fiercely, "If I had such power, why would I be sent here as a harbinger? I would have torn those trash outside into pieces long ago." Xiaofan had already raised his bow and knocked an arrow. He looked at Lin Yuan coldly. It was as if he would shoot Lin Yuan to death if Lin Yuan continued to talk like that. "But I do. If you are willing to cooperate with me, it means that you have such power too, right?" Lin Yuan paused and said again. "Ha." Xiaofan suddenly opened his mouth and sneered. "You have such power? Black Snake. Do you still not understand your current situation? The Demon Subduing Masters Association has issued a bounty for you. Other than the unlucky ones like us who were forcefully recruited, many experts are rushing to the Hengduan Mountains to take your life. You can't even protect yourself, and you still dare to talk so big? Xiaofan's voice was very cold, just like his attitude all along. It was like an icicle that kept people 1,000 miles away. In a sense, the Black Snake did have power. After all, he was the Beast King of the Stoneclaw Forest. He even had the Demon Emperor Association, a human organization, working for him. But so what? As long as the Black Snake died, all of this would become a thing of the past. What's more, Black Snake's status was even lower than theirs. They were at most slaves and free mercenaries in the eyes of the nobles, but an existence like the Black Serpent was probably only a dish that was about to be served on the dining table. So, you think I'll definitely lose? Lin Yuan retracted the snake's forked tongue and asked in a mocking tone. Humph. Beside him, Wan Yu also snorted coldly, as if she didn't care about the demon slayers at all. At this moment, it had already told Su Nan about its plan. Coincidentally, it saw that the negotiation between Xia Siyu and Lin Yuan was on the verge of breaking down, so it snorted coldly and signaled to the other party to pay attention to where they were first, and not to act rashly. Su Nan had already quietly left the area. He still had to take stock of the Demon Emperor Association's forces, so that he could attack the territories of the Beast Kings. Even Wan Yu had already made a detailed plan of who to attack, which demonic beasts must die, and which demonic beasts must be killed, and which demonic beasts must be killed. Everything was clearly arranged for him. Not to mention Su Nan's brain, even a fool would be able to execute Wan Yu's plan perfectly after knowing it. After all, this fellow was so ridiculous that she had even told Su Nan about the demonic beast's daily routines and habits when they had nothing to do. Then how about we make a bet? Lin Yuan smiled, as if the fish had already taken the bait. He said, the main forces of the demon slayers will enter the outer regions of the Hengduan Mountains the day after tomorrow. It will take them at least 5 more days to reach the Stoneclaw Forest. I'll bet with you that in these 5 days, the demon slayers will definitely suffer heavy losses, and might even temporarily retreat from the Hengduan Mountains. Although they were currently in a corner of the Beast Forest, it wasn't on the route that the main forces of the demon slayers had planned. Before the Stoneclaw Forest was broken through, he didn't have to worry about the demon slayers coming here. Bet. That's interesting. What's the wager? The dagger in Xia Siyu's hand spun. If I win, the two of you must do something for me. Moreover, you must do it with all your strength. You can't slack off in the slightest. If I lose, you can take my head. I heard that the bounty on my head in the mountain-blocking city's Demon Slayers Association isn't low, right? With this amount of money, you should be able to find a remote place to settle down. Lin Yuan gently swayed his snake tail. Although he was talking about the bet, both his tone and expression showed that he had a card up his sleeve. Xiaofan silently put down the bow in his hand. Although his attitude towards the black snake was not friendly, he still had the bloodline of a monster beast in his body. When facing humans, he did not feel the slightest bit of warmth. However, when facing the black snake, he strangely felt this kind of feeling, as if the black snake was his family. He even felt a trace of guilt for not trusting the black snake. All right, I'll bet with you. Xia Siyu stopped the dagger in his hand. A gloomy look appeared in his eyes as he coldly said, If you lose to me, I guarantee that you won't die a quick death. After all, your words and actions have made me very unhappy. Meanwhile, the main camp of the Demon Slayers, Lai Shan, Hua Sanyang, and a few other captains of the Demon Slayers were sitting in their seats with ashen faces. There was still no news from the captain who was on duty. The supplies that should have been delivered a long time ago had yet to be delivered. At this moment, the entire camp was shrouded in an irritated atmosphere. It was like a barrel of gunpowder that could explode with just a spark. It was said that when they were cleaning up the ruins that were set on fire today, several demon slayers had come to blows because of the relics they found. If it weren't for Hua Sanyang's timely intervention, there would have been internal strife even before they officially entered the demonic beast forest. We can't just sit and wait like this. Lai Shan's chubby body sat there like a mountain of meat, but his voice was unusually light and lively. Why don't we send someone back to Mountain Blocking City first and ask the logistics department what is going on? Why haven't the supplies we promised arrived? Or we can just give up on waiting and let everyone bring only a portion of dry rations and water into the demonic beast forest. After all, this place produces a lot of food. Other than maintaining everyone's needs, we might also have a fortuitous encounter." When his voice fell, the other captains all sneered. Chapter 159. The upper echelons of the demon-subduing guild were in a heated debate. Should they directly enter the demonic beast forest and obtain supplies from the demonic beasts, or should they send people to Zhongshan City to ask why the first batch of supplies hadn't arrived? These were the two main issues. There were also some neutral parties who wanted to send some people to the surroundings to see if they could find the missing guild leader and find out what had happened on the day of the fire in the camp. "Elder Qin, your cultivation is the highest here. Why don't you make a decision?" Hua Sanyang cleared her throat and looked at blind Qin with her expressive eyes. Although the relationship between the high-level demon-subduing guild members wasn't good, it was undeniable that no one dared to argue with a big shot like blind Qin. Under such circumstances, blind Qin only needed to say a few words to immediately end the chaos. However, blind Qin clearly didn't have such intentions. Therefore, Hua Sanyang could only take the risk of blind Qin bearing a grudge and forcefully drag him into the water. "Hee, guild leader Hua must be joking. This Qin is all alone. It's really inappropriate for me to participate in your discussion." Blind Qin rubbed his chin and said with a smile, "However, if you want to talk about my opinion, this Qin actually feels that it's not a good idea to stay here. Everyone has received a mission from the demon-subduing guild. That's why you specially came to hunt that black snake. Our target is only that black snake. The rest of the demonic beasts are just side dishes. We just need to get rid of those who block our way. If we start an all-out war with the Stoneclaw Forest, it won't do us any good." When blind Qin finished speaking, the complexions of several of the demon-subduing group's captains turned ashen. Among them, there were some who belonged to the imperial court. They were only participating in the Black Snake Crusade because they were following orders. The so-called wealth and the life and death of the Black Snake were meaningless to them. What they wanted to do was to incite an all-out war between the demon-subduing guild and the demonic beast royal court in the Hengduan mountain range. After all, although the demonic beasts of the Hengduan mountain range had been running wild for the past few years, the demonic beasts of each region had their own way of doing things. It was impossible for them to pose a particularly serious threat. However, the Demon-Subduing Master Association, which had branches in all 7 dynasties, was different. After all, the Demon Slayer Guild had been fighting demonic beasts all year round. Be it in terms of teamwork or actual combat experience, they were extremely terrifying. As long as they were willing, after undergoing a period of professional training, their strength would definitely not be much weaker than those experienced soldiers. Moreover, the Chamber of Commerce and Tycoons within the 7 dynasties were basically connected to the Demon Slayer Guild. If the Demon Slayer Guild's president had any thoughts that he shouldn't have, he could replace any of the 7 dynasties at any time. He could even establish a new 8th dynasty independent of the 7 dynasties. Right now, the imperial court of the 7 dynasties were in a difficult position. Firstly, they didn't have an excuse to make a move against the demon-subduing guild. Secondly, they didn't have absolute confidence in their victory. If they made a move first, they would lose their sense of righteousness in the hearts of the people. Therefore, the 7 dynasties had always hoped that this organization, which was originally established to weaken the demonic beast's influence, would really start an all-out war with the demonic beast royal court in the Hengduan mountain range. That way, it would be killing 2 birds with 1 stone, directly weakening 2 hidden dangers that were growing day by day. However, before this, the demon-subduing guild had always maintained a restrained way of doing things. No matter how much the imperial court of the 7 dynasties inflated the price of the demonic beast meat and demonic beast cores, they didn't feel the slightest bit of fluctuation in their hearts. Apart from their own maintenance fees, they didn't even have the slightest desire to make money. This made them feel even more uneasy. Although the Black Snake Crusade, organized by the demon-subduing guild this time, was only to deal with an intelligence perception realm demonic beast king, it was already one of the largest operations of the demon-subduing guild in the past 10 years. The demon-subduing guild that belonged to the imperial court was here to cause trouble. Although the demonic beast royal court didn't put a single black snake in their eyes, if they massacred the entire Stoneclaw forest in one go, then even if the demonic beast royal court was unwilling, they would have no choice but to take the initiative to declare war on the demon-subduing guild for the sake of their reputation and authority. However, Blind Qin's words were clearly blocking their path. Most of the demon-subduing masters here were here to deal with the Black Snake. As long as they could take the Black Snake's head, they would be able to obtain 40% of the Lu clan's wealth. Even if they were to wash their hands of the Black Snake, they might not be able to spend all their wealth in their lifetime. This was also one of the reasons why the demon-subduing masters from the nearby cities had taken the initiative to come to Mountain Blocking City. Under such circumstances, no lunatic would be stupid enough to massacre the entire Stoneclaw Forest and incur the wrath of the demonic beast royal court. Lai Shan patted his stomach and narrowed his eyes slightly. He said in a deep voice, "Old Qin is right. Our goal in entering the Hengduan mountain range this time is that Black Snake. Even if the rest of the demonic beasts were added together, they wouldn't be worth as much as the Black Snake. Why don't we all push forward together? We'll leave as soon as we kill that Black Snake." Lai Shan's words could be considered watertight. However, while he was speaking, his gaze would sweep past the demon-subduing masters from the imperial family from time to time. He had a threatening look on his face, causing the other party to want to fly into a rage, but they didn't dare to do so. A brute like Lai Shan obviously wouldn't have such a brain. He knew that the imperial family wished for the demon-subduing masters to wage an all-out war with the demonic beast royal court. However, at this moment, Lai Shan and Blind Qin cooperated and reduced the matter from waging war against the Stoneclaw Forest to taking the Lu clan's reward to kill the Black Snake. This way, even if the demonic beast royal court wanted to make trouble after the Black Snake was killed, they could still push the Lu clan out as a scapegoat. Obviously, the demon-subduing masters had already seen through the imperial family's plan. Blind Qin and Lai Shan were singing the same tune, putting on a show for them to see. At the same time, they were warning them not to have any ideas. Otherwise, if they were killed and thrown into the demonic beast forest, would the imperial family be able to find out who was the culprit from the pile of demonic beast's excrement? "You're right." The leader of the imperial family's faction was silent for a moment before nodding in agreement. Outsiders didn't know how powerful Blind Qin was, but how could they, who had been watching the demon-subduing masters for a long time, not know? Although Blind Qin was still lingering at the peak of the airborne realm, when one's strength reached such a level, the so-called one step was only one step away. As long as he was willing, he could break through the bottleneck at any time and step into the realm where he could fight against demonic beasts head-on. When that time came, their identities would be useless. In the end, whether they lived or died, it would be up to Blind Qin to decide. Chapter 160. Since that's the case, why don't we split up? A demon slayer with a resentful expression said. He wasn't a member of the royal family, nor was he a direct descendant of the Demon Slayer Guild. He was just an ordinary cultivator who wanted to retire after a few years of work. At the same time, he was one of the demon slayers who had come here. To be honest, an existence like him would definitely be a small fry on this battlefield. Unless an opportunity descended from the heavens and instantly raised his strength to Blind Qin's level, there was no way he could compare to the other big shots in terms of personal strength or the influence of the demon-subduing group. The reason he joined the Black Snake Crusade was to kill the demonic beasts of the Stoneclaw Forest. After all, there weren't many missions where he could obtain all the materials of the demonic beasts after killing them, and even receive an additional reward from the employer. Split up? Is there something wrong with your head? Lai Shan asked with a strange expression. Soon after, he mocked mercilessly. You can't possibly think that you can charge into the Stoneclaw Forest with just a bunch of weaklings like you, right? Even if the demonic beasts in the periphery of the forest can't stop you, do you think all the high-level demonic beasts in the Stoneclaw Forest are dead? The reason why Beast King-level demonic beasts were hard to kill wasn't just because they were the strongest and wisest existences in their territory. More importantly, every Beast King was surrounded by a large number of demonic beasts. Trying to fight a Beast King against a Beast King was clearly a pipe dream. These weak demon slayers were originally chosen to deal with the Beast King's guards. They seemed like a bunch of dispensable people, but in reality, they played an extremely important role. If not for a big shot like Lai Shan withstanding the pressure of those high-level demonic beasts, they wouldn't even be able to charge into the Stoneclaw Forest. On the other hand, if not for them sharing the firepower of those intelligent perception demonic beasts, Lai Shan and the others wouldn't have been able to kill the Black Snake. Lai Shan's emotional intelligence was clearly not high. After he finished speaking, the faces of many demon slayers turned ugly. These demon slayers were generally not very strong, and they didn't participate in this mission for the Black Snake. Even their own opinions weren't important. They could only choose a few representatives to participate in this meeting. As the old saying goes, don't hit someone in the face, and don't expose someone's shortcomings when scolding someone. Lai Shan's words were no different from roasting them on a fire. All right, let's stop arguing. Hua Sanyang sensed that the atmosphere was not right. She cleared her throat and said in a soft voice, "We are all demon slayers who came to fight the Black Snake. So what if there is a gap in strength? It's not easy for everyone to make a living, so please lend a helping hand. Actually, I don't agree with sticking together, but the situation is already like this. Let's put aside our prejudices and push into the Stone Claw Forest. Let's kill that Black Snake first. What do you think?" Hua Sanyang was now in an awkward position. It was true that she wanted to drag Blind Qin down with her, but she never would have guessed that Blind Qin was actually one of the Demon Slayer Guild's direct subordinates. The moment he opened his mouth, he had provoked an even sharper conflict. She felt that if this continued, the Demon Slayers would start fighting among themselves before they even saw the Black Snake. Therefore, she could only step forward once more and clean up this mess. Just like that, the main force of the Demon Slayer Alliance had yet to even see a single demon beast, and yet it was already filled with internal strife. Withstanding the immense pressure of this discord, the main force of the Demon Slayer Alliance once again took firm steps forward. However, the demonic beast forest was clearly not as peaceful as these demon slayers had imagined. From the moment they stepped into the demonic beast forest, the demon slayers had been continuously attacked by all kinds of intelligence realm demonic beasts. Even Blind Qin, who was only a step away from the heaven realm, had suffered greatly. Never in their wildest dreams would they have thought that the incomparably cunning Black Snake would use threats to force the beast kings around its territory to send out their troops to deal with the demon slayers. Even more unexpected was that the Black Snake would not even let these demon beasts enter its own territory. Therefore, they could only hurry into the demonic beast forest and quietly wait for the arrival of the Demon Slayer Alliance. Congratulations, host. Mission completed. Fate is too wonderful for words. Mission completion rate: 100%. Mission rating: A+. Mission reward: Skill Draw X1. Ever since he had entered the Wisdom Realm, the system had been muttering about upgrading itself. However, at that time, Lin Yuan was still in the midst of his battle with the profound ice duck, so the system had not directly upgraded itself. Only now, after Lin Yuan had submitted the mission, did he vaguely feel that the system had undergone some changes. The most obvious change was that the system's broadcast had been completely replaced by an ice-cold electronic voice. There will no longer be a situation where the system assistant announces the broadcast on behalf of the system. In the face of this emotionless prompt method, even if Lin Yuan's speech skill is directly maxed out, he will not be able to learn anything from a shrewdly operating machine related to the system's loopholes. The completion rate of this mission was extremely high. After all, he had killed the profound ice duck and obtained the ice heart fruit. Even the scarlet-eyed mandarin had turned into a purgatory crow after her sister had been devoured by Lin Yuan. After creating a purgatory territory, Lin Yuan had been rewarded with a lot of attribute points and purgatory cores. If Lin Yuan were to evaluate himself, this mission would definitely receive the highest score. However, in the eyes of the system, it was only an A+ grade. After a short period of silence, Lin Yuan suddenly thought that the reason the mission rating was not high might be because the Purgatory Crow had directly destroyed the Scarlet Flame Swamp and blocked Lin Yuan's expansion. After all, although he had not declared his sovereignty, after killing the Scarlet Flame Crocodile King and the Yuanyang siblings, the Scarlet Flame Swamp was such a large territory. Even if the other Beast Kings had any ideas, they would definitely not dare to fight with the limelight of Lin Yuan. With the example of what had happened before, this black snake was truly terrifying. Forget it, let's start the skill draw. Lin Yuan lowered his head and smiled. He did not dwell on the fact that he did not receive an S-grade evaluation and used his reward. It had actually been a long time since he had last drawn a skill. Although the skills he had were all very powerful, there were simply too few of them. When he was in the Spirit Awakening realm, these skills were completely enough. However, as an Intelligence realm demonic beast, only those 3 skills were somewhat insufficient. It was still a familiar operation. 3 balls of light silently floated in front of Lin Yuan, waiting for Lin Yuan to choose. However, this time, the balls of light were slightly different. One was white, one was green, and one was red. Chapter 161. System. What is the meaning of the color division of the skill light? Logically speaking, it was a basic practice to ask questions when one did not understand. Therefore, Lin Yuan did not even look at the 3 skills and summoned the system assistant, Nesting Doll. The doll was silent for a moment, as if it was searching for information. After 4 breaths it slowly said, as a reward for the host's advancement to wisdom state, when the host draws a skill, the host will be able to see the rarity of the skill. The 7 colors are white, green, blue, purple, pink, gold, and orange. Then what does this red light mean? Lin Yuan tilted his head. He had a feeling that the doll was lying to him. He was no stranger to dividing skills into 7 colors according to their rarity. In the game in his previous life, they liked to use these colors to differentiate the rarity of equipment. Therefore, Lin Yuan was very familiar with this model. However, the doll's introduction did not mention a red skill light, but there was a red light right in front of him. The doll choked on Lin Yuan's words and could only helplessly explain. The red light is not a division of rarity. Skills like this are often things that even the system cannot determine the level of. They often have extremely powerful effects, but they also have very strong side effects. For example, the host's blood sacrifice wishing spell is a red skill. Shocking! Lin Yuan looked at the red light in front of him and was momentarily at a loss. The blood sacrifice wishing spell was a skill on the level of the law of causality. As long as he offered enough sacrifices, there was nothing that this skill could not do. Even if he wanted the water of the 4 seas to stand up, it would not be a problem. He actually got a second skill like this. Did he have an outburst of snake character? White skill. Strangle. As a huge python, your strength is incomparably terrifying. The corresponding attack techniques are your instincts. After learning this skill, your strangle strength will increase. Green skill. Force field. You, who have mastered extraordinary powers, have begun to use extraordinary powers. Although force fields are not the most powerful of extraordinary powers, they are extremely flexible. As long as you have enough imagination, it can be used in almost any way. For example, cutting, pushing, binding, suppressing. There is no problem. Red skill. Appraisal eye. One of the system's standard equipment. It can detect the attributes of all things. Lin Yuan. The karma skill that he had imagined did not appear. The eyes of appraisal was placed there, which made Lin Yuan feel as uncomfortable as if he was being fed feces while walking on the street. The strangulation skill was actually refreshed by him. Wasn't this kind of snake-type innate skill placed here to occupy a position? Lin Yuan directly eliminated the strangle skill. As for the force field skill, it seemed very powerful, but it was still unclear how powerful it actually was. As for the appraisal eye, Lin Yuan always felt that it was a pity to give it up. After all, the system could detect the attributes of items, but it couldn't check the attributes of other living beings or things that didn't belong to Lin Yuan. Moreover, the introduction was a little simple, so Lin Yuan didn't use it often. If the appraisal eye was a skill of another color, Lin Yuan would rather waste a skill draw chance to exchange for it. However, the doll had made it clear that although red skills were powerful, they couldn't be used without limit. This meant that after Lin Yuan exchanged for the skill, it didn't mean that he could detect the awakening of all things as he wished. He had to at least consider if he could afford to pay the price. The first time he used the blood sacrifice wishing spell, it took a full 1/3 of his blood. I suggest that the host exchange for the appraisal eye. The doll's cold voice sounded, taking the initiative to disrupt Lin Yuan's train of thought. It continued, red skills are actually rarer than orange ones. If the host can farm red skills, it's best to exchange for them first. Who knows when they will come in handy? Lin Yuan's big head was full of question marks. Previously, every time he asked for the doll's suggestion, it would either play dumb or remain silent. However, this time, after noticing his hesitation, it took the initiative to suggest that he exchange for the appraisal eye. If there wasn't a trap, Lin Yuan felt that he had wasted almost a year knowing the doll. After all, It wasn't the first time that the system had arranged things for him behind the scenes. Other than the truth, what else could he do? He calmed himself down and exchanged for the appraisal eye skill. Then, Lin Yuan took another look at the system's text introduction, and his face instantly darkened. This thing was indeed a trap. Appraisal eye can detect the attributes of all things. This skill has a certain failure rate. The specific failure rate is determined by the difference in strength between the host and the target. The host can use appraisal eye 3 times a day for free. After the 3rd time, the host will have to pay a certain amount of attribute points each time he uses appraisal eye. The amount of attribute points will be determined by the difference in strength between the host and the target. Damn, it's another one that eats attribute points. After Lin Yuan turned the Scarlet Flame Swamp into a leveling ground for attribute points, he realized that even though he was gaining attribute points faster and faster, there were more and more areas where he needed attribute points. The attribute points he gained were not proportional to the attribute points he had to pay on a daily basis. If I f*** king believe you again, I'm a dog. Lin Yuan roared in exasperation. The host was a human in his past life and a snake in this life. Theoretically speaking, you have nothing to do with a dog. The doll replied nonchalantly, not taking Lin Yuan's words to heart at all. Its attitude was extremely arrogant, but Lin Yuan couldn't do anything about it. Thinking that it would be a loss if he didn't use it, Lin Yuan threw an appraisal eye at Xiaofan in front of him. Suddenly, Lin Yuan's heterochromatic eyes shone brightly. Xiaofan was slightly taken aback and instinctively took 2 steps back, as if guarding against Lin Yuan's sudden attack. But in the next moment, the light in Lin Yuan's eyes dissipated. The snake's aura withered, as if someone had hit its heart with a heavy hammer. Skill failed. The emotionless system broadcast sounded, as if it was mocking Lin Yuan. Lin Yuan was speechless. He knew that this skill had a failure rate, but he didn't expect it to be so high. The blood sacrifice wishing skill also had a failure rate, but it could be increased by relying on sacrifices. How could he increase the success rate of appraisal eye? Should he level up desperately? Or should he use appraisal eye first when he encountered a powerful being and prepare to run if it failed? If he succeeded, he could see if there were any fatal weaknesses in the opponent's attribute panel that he could exploit? What kind of stupid skill was this? Chapter 162. Lin Yuan took a deep breath and adjusted his state of mind so that he wouldn't curse out loud. Then, he threw an appraisal eye at Xiaofan. Appraisal successful. Check target's attributes? Lin Yuan confirmed with his mind. Soon, Xiaofan's panel popped up in front of him. Name, Xiaofan. Status, Shadow Walker, Abandoned, Realm, 17/20 talents, 1. Shadow Affinity. Has a natural affinity with the shadow element. When using shadow skills, the power is increased by 20%. Can be advanced 0 out of 102. Void Walk. Can perform a short space leap to achieve the effect of teleportation. Can be advanced 81/300, speed, 260 defense, 40 attack, 150 assignable attribute points, 0 martial arts, 1. Shadow Break Diagram 2. Evil Moon Skills. 1. Backstab, Master 2. Shadow Kill, Beginner 3. Vanishing Step, Proficient. Items, Shadow Dagger, Stats Unknown, Shadow Cloak, Stats Unknown, Lin Yuan. At this moment, Lin Yuan had a lot of curses in his heart. Was his body's talent really that bad? It was fine if his cultivation speed was slow, but the system panel couldn't even compare to his. With a speed of 260 points, Lin Yuan felt that if he hadn't opened his mouth quickly, the other party might have already slashed him 17 or 18 times, although it might not have been able to break through his defense. This Xiaofan felt a bit like an assassin model. His speed was probably much higher than a cultivator of the same realm by more than 10 points. His attack value probably didn't reach the standard. The only normal thing was that his defense was as low as 40 points. When fighting against someone of the same realm, even if he was lightly brushed by something, this guy would probably be injured. He couldn't be bothered to look at Xiaofan's model. After all, this guy was the same as Xiaofan. Both of them were based on the agility model. The biggest difference was that Xiaofan's speed could barely keep up with Xiaofan when he went all out. However, The damage that Xiaofan's arrow dealt was comparable to Xia Siyu's 3 to 5 slashes. However, this was reality and not a game. One could not do whatever they wanted just because they had high stats. Rumble! Rumble! In the distance, continuous explosions rang out. From time to time, 1 or 2 wisdom perception demonic beasts would reveal their true forms. Their figures were so huge that even the forests and mountains couldn't hide them. Xia Siyu squinted at Lin Yuan and sneered. It seems that your opponent does not intend to give you a chance to prepare, and directly pushed in. So, Sir Demon Emperor, what can you do at this time? We've already started fighting. Let's get to work. Lin Yuan did not pay attention to Xia Siyu, but glanced at Su Nan, who was on standby. After giving a few short instructions, Su Nan waved his hand with a solemn expression, and led a group of cultivators from the Association of the Demon Emperor to attack the Stoneclaw Forest. They spread out in all directions. Swift and ferocious figures swept toward the dumbfounded demonic beasts. In an instant, a bloody massacre began. These beast kings didn't expect there to be other humans in the beast forest, so most of the wisdom perception demonic beasts were assigned to the beast forest to snipe the main force of the humans. This led to the scene of the beast king's territories being massacred by members of the Association of the Demon Emperor. After all, no matter how powerful a group of spirit-awakening demonic beasts was, without a system like Lin Yuan's, it was impossible for them to fight against human cultivators who were around level 5 of the airborne realm on average. However, at this moment, the demonic beasts who were suddenly attacked were not the only ones who were dumbfounded. The humans were even more dumbfounded. There were at least 1,000 intelligence perception demonic beasts scattered throughout the demonic beast forest. To the main forces of the 7 dynasties, they might only be a bunch of ants that they could crush at any time. However, to the mountain-blocking city's demon-subduing association, such a force had clearly exceeded their expectations of the Black Snake faction. The territory of the Red Flame Crocodile King was definitely considered large in the periphery of the Hengduan Mountains. Its territory was 4 times the size of the Stoneclaw Forest, but it could only support less than 200 wisdom perception demonic beasts. For a territory of the Stoneclaw Forest size, it would be considered impressive if it could support about 30 wisdom perception demonic beasts. Not to mention that the Black Snake had been fighting almost all the time since it took over. The older generation experts had all died. Among the 4 major clans, only the Zhuiying, Mendu, and Old Bay were left. However, the Black Snake wouldn't be able to pull out a team of more than 1,000 wisdom perception demonic beasts. Damn it, I gave you face, but you don't want it. Lai Shan's face was gloomy as he forced back a 2nd-level wisdom perception demonic beast. He said in a cold voice, "This Black Snake actually has such a large network. Almost all the nearby beast kings have sent out at least 80% of their demonic beasts to participate in the battle. Could this guy be the illegitimate son of that great demon?" As one of the top demon slayers in the mountain-stopping city, Lai Shan was very familiar with the demonic beasts' forces in the vicinity of the mountain-stopping city. With just a glance, he saw at least 7 or 8 familiar demonic beasts. Moreover, they all belonged to different beast kings. However, this was nothing. The strangest thing was that he hadn't seen any signs of the wisdom perception demonic beasts of the Stoneclaw Forest participating in the battle. It was as if the surrounding beast kings had spontaneously formed an alliance to keep the demon slayers outside the Stoneclaw Forest. Bah, bootlicker! Lai Shan spat a mouthful of saliva to the side. However, a trace of contemplation flashed through his eyes. When Lai Shan looked in the direction of the Stoneclaw Forest, he already had some thoughts of retreating. After all, not just any random cat or dog could make the nearby beast kings go all out to help. This Black Snake either had a powerful background, or it could bring tangible benefits to the surrounding beast kings. Therefore, these beast kings were fawning over the Black Snake. However, no matter what the reason was, this Black Snake wasn't an existence that a mere mountain-stopping city's Demon Slayers Association could provoke. Back then, a 3-eyed ape from the Stoneclaw Forest was already able to sweep through the entire mountain-stopping city. One could imagine what would happen to the mountain-stopping city if the surrounding beast kings rebelled. Although the Shenwu dynasty would definitely seek revenge, it had nothing to do with the Demon Slayers Association anymore. After all, they had the title of Demon Slayers, and they usually received a generous salary. During critical moments, even the army could retreat before the beast tide arrived. However, Demon Slayers like them could only fight to the death. This was a rule that no one dared to break, And it was also the reason why the 7 dynasties couldn't lay their hands on the Demon Slayers Association. The flesh and blood of the Demon Slayers was the last wall of the border city. Sure enough, it's not that easy to take the Liu family's money. Lai Shan shook his head and waved his saber again. However, this time, his target was the direction of mountain-stopping city. After their leader retreated, the members of the Lai Shan Demon Slayers Association didn't think much about it and quickly left the battle as well. Chapter 163. Although Lai Shan was not the kind of person who relied on his brain to make a living, his combat skills were extremely high. He also had an extraordinary talent for foreseeing danger. Therefore, when Lai Shan moved forward, they would move forward as well. And when Lai Shan retreated, they naturally would not run over and court death. He ran away? The few wisdom perception demonic beasts nearby blinked their eyes. They could not understand why Lai Shan would suddenly retreat. However, in the current situation, the human side's high-end combat power was in a more dire situation than the demonic beasts. Now that Lai Shan had retreated from the battlefield, it meant that the humans who were still fighting had become food in their stomachs. Once they finished cleaning up the battlefield, they could go and support their comrades. Obviously, Lai Shan was not the only one who had sensed that something was wrong. The demon slayers who were begging for food near Zhanshan City also chose to retreat from the battlefield before the others could react, allowing the demonic beasts to slaughter their comrades who were still fighting. To be honest, thousands of wisdom perception demonic beasts were not difficult to deal with. With their strength, they might not be able to defeat these demonic beasts in a head-on battle. However, once the battle lines were drawn apart, the human side's experts could form a spearhead team and execute a decapitation tactic to quickly defeat these demonic beasts. It was just that at this moment they did not do so. The participation of more than 10 beast kings in the nearby battle had already shown the attitude of the Hengduan mountain range. If they were to go against the heavens and kill that black snake, they would incur the wrath of the various beast kings. That was not something they could afford. They retreated just like that? Xiaofan, who was standing on the trunk of a huge tree, was startled. He muttered in disbelief. He had never imagined that the so-called main force would be so weak. After being attacked by the demonic beasts, they immediately gave up the idea of advancing. They gave up on the comrades who were unable to leave the battlefield and decisively retreated from the demonic beast forest. What do you mean they retreated? Xia Siyu turned his head and asked while fiddling with the dagger in his hand. Xiaofan was a natural archer because his innate talent was eagle eyes. When he stood on high ground, he could see everything within 1,000 miles without any obstructions and firmly lock onto them. For an experienced archer, he could kill anything within his sight. The main force of the Demon Slayer Guild. Xiaofan jumped down from the tree with a gloomy face and said, "I thought these pure-blooded humans were something special. Normally, they were so arrogant, but now, after being attacked by a wave of demonic beasts, they were immediately defeated. They didn't even try to save their companions who were fighting a bitter battle. They ran faster than rabbits." Clang! Xia Siyu was so shocked that the dagger in his hand fell to the ground. He didn't expect things to turn out this way. In other words, he had lost the bet with Lin Yuan? Lin Yuan lowered his head and pondered for a while. The main force of the demon slayers had arrived much faster than he had expected. According to his calculations, these demon slayers would at least wait until the next batch of supplies arrived before slowly advancing. But he never would have imagined that these demon slayers would be so bold. They didn't send any scouts to scout out the surrounding terrain before charging forward with full force. It was as though they wanted to end the battle in one go. If he hadn't forced the surrounding beast kings to participate in the battle, he might have lost the Stoneclaw Forest within 2 days. He didn't even know where these demon slayers would have chased him to. In other words, he had almost gone too far. Fortunately, the nearby beast kings were extremely wary of the inferno demonic beasts, so none of them dared to slack off. Almost at the same time they agreed to Lin Yuan's request, they arranged for their demonic beasts to enter the demonic beasts forest. It must be known that Lin Yuan's demonic beasts had yet to emerge from the Stoneclaw Forest. A bet is a bet. Xia Siyu walked up to Lin Yuan's side and narrowed his eyes. He said with an unhappy expression, "Speak. What do you want us to do for you?" Soon, the humans will organize another counterattack. At that time, no matter how many trump cards they have, They will use them all in one go. I want you to stay by my side. If Blind Qin appears, although the Beast Kings will act to deal with him, they will only be able to heavily injure him. I want you to chase after him and kill him." Lin Yuan was awakened from his contemplation, but his thoughts were still clear. When the Beast Kings realized that their territories had been cleansed by the humans, no matter what they wanted, they would have to send troops to suppress the humans and seek justice for the demonic beasts under their command. Congratulations to the host for completing the large-scale war mission, Black Serpent Crusade. Phase 1. Confrontation. Received 800 war points. Activated Phase 2. Tug of War. Successful reward, 1,000 war points. Failed reward, 1,000 war points deducted. Lin Yuan looked at the system notification that had just popped up and was momentarily speechless. He had previously said that he had been targeted by the Demon Slayer Guild, which was tantamount to starting a war between the Demon Slayers of Mountain Blocking City and the Stoneclaw Forest's demonic beasts. Why didn't the war model have any reaction at all? After the update, the prompts for the start of the war have been cancelled. If you want to know the details, you must open the war template and watch it yourself. If it weren't for the reward prompt that suddenly popped up, Lin Yuan would have really ignored this point. Faction War Model. Name: Black Serpent Crusade, Ongoing, Attacking Party. Demon Slayer Guild, Mountain Blocking City Branch, Mountain Blocking City's City Lord Residence, Idle Demon Slayer Group, Weak, Defending Party. Beast King Alliance, Medium, Evaluation. The prey is escaping. Victory Reward, 500 War Points. Failure Punishment, 500 War Points. War Mission. Tug of War Description. The Demon Slayer Alliance has suffered a loss at your hands. However, the humans are not willing to give up just like that. The war is still ongoing. Please maintain the fragile relationship between you and your allies and continue to fight against the Demon Slayers. During the mission phase, the host will be rewarded with war points according to the difference in strength between the Demon Slayers and the Demon Slayers. Lin Xiaofan glanced at the war template. It had not changed much from before, but after the system update, there was an additional war mission template. Lin Xiaofan did not tell Lin Yuan what to do when and what to do. He served as a military counselor and gave Lin Yuan advice. He only gave him a big goal to complete. However, after each stage of the war mission was completed, Lin Xiaofan could earn an additional sum of war points. Of course, Lin Yuan wasn't so naive as to think that the system had a conscience for once. He had already figured out the nature of this dog system. It would always come up with something that you thought was profitable, but was actually a scam. Chapter 164. Although this newly added war mission had additional rewards, if the mission failed, Lin Yuan's war points would be deducted. If the war points were not enough, Lin Yuan's attribute points would be deducted. For example, this second phase of the mission, after completing it, there would be a reward of 1,000 war points. For this phase of the war, this reward could be said to be considerable. After all, winning this war would only reward 500 war points. Completing the second phase of the mission would directly reward him with 1,000 points. Then what if the mission failed? Even if he won this war, the 500 war points he obtained would not be enough to pay for the failure penalty. Although in theory, with a tug of war as the main goal, there was no possibility of failure, but this was the nature of the system. Who knew what the next war mission would be? In any case, Lin Yuan felt that this system had not given him anything related to the world of the living. I understand. When you need me, crush this silver coin and I will rush over. Xiaofan bowed towards Lin Yuan. With a flip of his right hand, he threw a silver coin to Na Qin, who was standing to the side. Na Qin received the silver coin from Xiaofan and lightly nodded. He did not dare to interrupt the conversation between the big shots. This silver coin is... Lin Yuan's heterochromatic pupils suddenly shrank and he subconsciously asked. When the silver coin was thrown, he had already carefully observed it with his terrifying dynamic vision. On the obverse, there was a human head pierced by a dagger. The face was somewhat similar to the appearance of a European in his previous life. On the reverse, there was a rose entangled in thorns, blooming in a flirtatious manner. Ravenfield silver coin. An entrance ticket to the Assassin's Manor. It's just a small toy. Every month, I can go to the Assassin's Manor to receive one. After crushing it, I will sense it. Xia Xiu smiled. He finally won back some ground in front of this black snake. After all, no matter how powerful a demon beast was, it was still far inferior to humans in some aspects. Although it was just a small toy, he could see the deep shock in Lin Yuan's eyes. However, he completely did not expect that Lin Yuan's shock was because he had seen this silver coin in his previous life. The shape and name were exactly the same. This couldn't be a coincidence, right? Thinking about the Dragon Palace of the Four Seas, Lin Yuan felt that all of this was enough to prove that this world was related to the world of his previous life. In other words, one day, he might really be able to return to his previous world. Can you introduce me to the leader of the Assassin Manor? Lin Yuan's gaze landed on Xia Xiu. Xia Xiu shrugged and said helplessly, "Big brother, the leader of the Assassin Manor? That man is already a legendary figure. Even if he were still alive, he's not someone that a puny airborne realm assassin like me would be able to meet." At this point, Xia Xiu paused and looked at Lin Yuan strangely. He asked in confusion, "But why do you want to see the leader of the Assassin's Manor? Although the Assassin's Manor doesn't have any stance, as long as there are benefits, they can accept any kind of transaction. But you are just a demonic beast." Xia Xiu didn't finish his sentence. Even assassins who walked in the dark didn't have a good impression of demonic beasts, especially in a place like the Assassin Manor where crooks mixed in with the honest folk. With Lin Yuan's current strength, if he went to the Assassin Manor, he could be turned into snake soup at any time by the assassins who went there to pick up or submit missions. Then forget about it. Lin Yuan shook his head, as a hint of vague disappointment flashed in his heterochromatic eyes. Xia Xiu sensed Lin Yuan's disappointment, but as a professional assassin, he knew very well that there were some things that wouldn't be beneficial to him if he knew too much. Just like the black snake in front of him, who claimed to be the demon emperor, there were too many secrets that he couldn't see through. If it wasn't for the fact that his strength was too weak, he would even suspect that this black snake was also a legendary existence. "Okay, then I'll take my leave first." Xia Xiu stretched his muscles and looked around, and said with a resentful expression. Staying next to a black snake that was like a fog, he was already under a lot of pressure. Not to mention that there were many demonic beasts and members of the Association of the Demon Emperor. All of them were eyeing him covetously. Xia Xiu didn't doubt that as long as he showed the slightest bit of hostility, these fellows would swarm him. The demon slayers had all retreated from the demonic beast forest, and the demonic beasts that were chasing after them also stopped in time. However, from time to time, they would turn back to look at the demon slayers who had just survived the calamity. However, the rules of the demonic beast royal court were very clear. Once they left the Hengduan mountain range, they would no longer be under the protection of the demonic beast royal court. Even if they were killed the moment they stepped out of the demonic beast forest, they deserved it. No demonic beast would stand up for them. In the past, when the demonic beast tide attacked the human cities, almost none of them had returned alive. After the demonic beasts confirmed that the humans had no intention of entering the demonic beast forest, they could only let out a series of roars from their throats and retreat to their respective territories. 2 hours later, the mournful roars of the demonic beasts joined together and echoed throughout the entire Hengduan mountain range. Just as they were fighting with the humans, another group of human cultivators invaded their territories and began a frenzied massacre of their clansmen and descendants. The more severe ones were even left alone. The small clans were directly slaughtered by the humans, and the various spiritual items hidden in their lairs were also plundered. The demonic beasts that had yet to return to their lairs saw the demonic beasts that had fought alongside them end up in such a state. Their hearts sank. While they felt pity, they also secretly prayed that their clans hadn't been slaughtered by those crazy humans. However, what awaited them was the merciless and cruel reality. In the next hour, outside the lairs of the various demonic beast kings, there were many Wisdom Realm demonic beasts with bloodshot eyes. Although none of the demonic beasts opened their mouths, the invisible pressure they exuded filled the air with an austere aura. An invisible pressure slowly enveloped the bodies of the demonic beast kings. After all, these demonic beasts were all sent out by them. During this period of time, the demonic beast kings that hadn't participated in the battle had failed to protect their clans. This was clearly unjustifiable. Furthermore, these demonic beast kings didn't know how to explain themselves. They weren't even in their territories before, but had been sent by Old Bay's Frost Wolf to the Crimson Flame Crocodile King's treasury to pick the spiritual items as a reward. Therefore, when the humans started the massacre, they didn't make a move in time. Chapter 165. The Beast Kings were in an extremely bad mood after the Beast Kings under their rule were massacred. This was because not only did they need to give an explanation to the demonic beasts under them, they also needed to give an explanation to the demonic beast palace. Their territories weren't that big, and they might not even be as big as the territory of a certain mountain lord demonic beast in the depths of the Hungduan mountain range. However, they were still part of the Hungduan mountain range's ecological chain. Once this balance was broken, many places would be affected. This was also the reason why when the Beast King was replaced, only a few demonic beast clans would fight for the position of Beast King. The other demonic beasts would temporarily leave their territories. After a long period of silence, a Beast King finally walked out of his lair with heavy footsteps. His cold gaze swept across the faces of the demonic beasts that had gathered here. He gritted his teeth and said, "Everyone, this is not the first time that humans have started a war for no reason. If we don't make those humans pay the price this time, something like this will definitely not happen just once. Kill them all. Let them be afraid. Let them pay the price." The Beast Kings that had gathered roared one after another, their eyes red as they roared in anger. The more powerful a clan was, the better their territory would be. Therefore, the truly powerful demonic beast clans did not suffer heavy losses. At most, a few of their hunting teams were killed. However, the demonic beast clans near the periphery were almost completely annihilated. Only a few lucky ones managed to escape the calamity. These Beast Kings weren't very strong and didn't have much intelligence. After the humans carried out such a tragic massacre, they even had thoughts of killing their way out of the Beast Forest. Seeing that the Beast Kings couldn't take this lying down, these Beast Kings became more and more energetic. With a leader, the rest of the matters were much simpler. Groups of demonic beasts of the Wisdom Realm slowly left the territory with heavy footsteps that resembled the beat of a drum. At this moment, Lin Yuan, who was entrenched in the demonic beast's forest, raised his eyelids and listened to the deafening roars of the beasts behind him as well as the heavy footsteps. He couldn't help but smile. After all, he was a Beast King with an unstable foundation. Once the flames of purgatory in the Scarlet Flame Swamp were extinguished, it would still be a problem whether or not he could protect the Scarlet Flame Swamp. Therefore, none of the demon beasts would have thought that the humans who were slaughtering their clansmen were all his subordinates. Endless rage would only be vented on those innocent humans. While they are still gathering, inform the brothers of the Demon Thearchas Association to withdraw from the demonic beast forest. After this, I will give them another batch of spirit items as a reward. Oh, that's right. After leaving the demonic beast forest, don't stay any longer. I reckon that their fury right now isn't something that can be extinguished by the blood of tens of thousands of humans. I reckon that Mountain Rampart City isn't safe either. Therefore, all of you should quickly leave Mountain Rampart City's sphere of influence. The further the better. Lin Yuan warned Su Nan. Su Nan nodded and didn't say anything else. He immediately made a few hand gestures. The members of the Demon Thearchas Association who had regrouped immediately followed behind him and headed out of the demonic beast forest. The purple-eyed youth didn't leave. Instead, he rubbed his head and said in a deep voice, "Don't cause trouble. After all, I'm still the next city lord of Mountain Rampart City. If you leave me with a dead city in ruins, how do you expect me to explain it to the higher-ups?" Lin Yuan let out a soft cry of surprise and asked with a smile, "What does this matter have to do with you? Shouldn't you still be on the way to your new position? Before you hand over the city lord, all the responsibilities have nothing to do with you. Let's not talk about whether these demon beasts can break through Mountain Rampart City. Even if they can, won't you have an excuse to find the higher-ups to mobilize a large number of professional soldiers and nearby refugees to rebuild Mountain Rampart City? At that time, you will be a hero and a meritorious subject. Later on, I can even borrow your hand to sweep away some of the surrounding obstacles for me." The purple-eyed youth stuttered for a long time and couldn't utter a complete sentence. After a long while, he rolled his eyes and said, "You're more shameless than I thought." The onlooker sees the game more clearly than the player involved. As the soon-to-be city lord of Mountain Rampart City, the purple-eyed youth's first reaction was that if Mountain Rampart City was destroyed, he might have to be transferred to another border city to take up the position. There might not be a righteous beast king like the Black Serpent in that godforsaken place. More importantly, that would mean that all the secret plans he had set up in Mountain Rampart City would all go down the drain with the destruction of Mountain Rampart City. However, after listening to the Black Serpent's words, he suddenly felt that the situation was still the same as before. However, the outcome was completely different from what he had previously thought. As for Dynasty giving up on Mountain Rampart City, that was just wishful thinking. After so many years of development, the current population of the 7 great dynasties had already exceeded the upper limit of the territory support. That was why there was constant friction between various parties. Firstly, it was to fight for territory. Secondly, it was to reduce the population. Not to mention that Mountain Rampart City was close to the Hengduan mountain range, a place that could continuously provide the dynasty with monster materials and spiritual items. If the emperor were to give up on this city, the Xinwu dynasty would not be far from destruction. Rebuilding Mountain Rampart City was something that would happen sooner or later. The forces behind him only needed to step forward and deal with it, and this difficult task would fall directly on him. The most important thing was the Black Serpent's existence. If other people were to rebuild Mountain Rampart City here, they would definitely be viewed with hostility by the Monster King Court. They would also be attacked by an endless stream of monsters. It would be very difficult for them to withstand the huge pressure and complete the task. Usually, only those who did not have any connections and were not liked would be assigned such a task by the dynasty. However, with the Black Serpent's existence, he would not have such worries at all. As long as the Black Serpent could occupy the position of the strongest beast king in this area, they could completely complement each other. As for the Black Serpent, would it bring huge trouble to the dynasty when it grew up? Who cared? After all, he was not the emperor. Even if the emperor wanted to choose a successor, it would definitely not fall on him. If he wanted to climb up, it would only be possible if he connected with the Black Serpent. Then you better take it easy. The purple-eyed youth's expression became much better. However, he still reminded, try to preserve the buildings of Mountain Rampart City. I don't want to start from scratch. Who knows how long it would take me to rebuild Mountain Rampart City from a pile of ruins. I'll try my best. Lin Yuan held back his laughter and replied. He was not being perfunctory with his words. It was purely because he did not have enough face to stop a group of enraged monsters from venting their anger on humans with just a few words. Chapter 166. If it was an ordinary beast tide, the Beast Kings might still give him some face. However, this beast tide wasn't as simple as it seemed. The beast tide was led by the Beast Kings, with the intelligence enlightening demonic beasts as the backbone. There would definitely be countless spirit-awakening demonic beasts joining the battle. A beast tide of this scale wasn't something that the cities near the Hengduan mountain range would experience every year. It could be considered as a calamity. The entire Zhongshan city wouldn't be enough to deal with these demonic beasts, and the cities in the vicinity would also be affected. Unless the humans had a Heaven Star Border Realm expert or above, or if the demonic beast royal court ordered the demonic beast to stop taking revenge on the humans, it could be said that the humans were in a terrible situation and blood flowed like a river. Throughout the establishment of the 7 great empires, after the demonic beasts were forced into the Hengduan mountain range to struggle at death's door, a beast tide of this scale had never happened before. It wasn't just the 7 great empires that weren't willing to destroy the demonic beast royal court in the Hengduan mountain range. They wanted to use the demonic beasts to restrict the other empires, but the demonic beast royal court wasn't willing to start a war with the humans. Even if the demonic beasts in the Hengduan mountain range came out in full force, they could go against any empires or even destroy them. However, the friction between the demonic beasts and humans was completely different from the battle between the demonic beasts and humans. Humans had spent countless years to break away from the demonic beasts' rule. They went from food and slaves to the current masters of the Tianwu continent. They didn't want the demonic beasts to be above them again. Therefore, if the demonic beast royal court were to start a war with the humans, they would have to face the attacks of the 7 great empires. As for the 4 Seas Dragon Palace, they were also a demonic beast faction. They definitely didn't want to get into trouble. After all, their territory was an environment where humans couldn't survive. Therefore, there wasn't much friction between the two sides. Na Qin, go back and inform them to participate in this beast tide. Lin Yuan opened his mouth wide and instructed Na Qin. The Stoneclaw Forest naturally wasn't attacked by the Demonic Emperor Association's members. This matter could actually be covered up. After all, the other demonic beasts had sent out their top fighting forces. Lin Yuan's subordinates setting up defenses in the Stoneclaw Forest to guard against the humans' attack might not be reasonable, but it was absolutely reasonable. However, it would be a different matter if Lin Yuan didn't participate in such a large-scale beast horde. After all, these beast kings were only attacked because they were trying to help him defend against the humans' attack. If he didn't help these monster beasts take revenge, not only would he end up with an unsociable image, if the monster beast palace were to pursue the matter, he wouldn't be able to bear the consequences. After all, after the purple-eyed youth rebuilt Zhongshan City, his cooperation with the humans was definitely something that could not be hidden. Although monster beasts were not as calculative as humans, it did not mean that they were stupid. They only needed to think a little bit to guess that he was behind the sudden attack on the territories of the various monster kings today. Not to mention, Lin Yuan's reputation in the monster beast palace was probably not very good. Ignoring the fact that Wan Yu had offended a large group of monster beasts, just the fact that the Green Swamp clan, which had 3 desolate monster realm experts, had suffered such a huge loss at his hands, they would definitely not let this matter go. Even if it was inconvenient for the Green Swamp clan to make a move against him due to the existence of the Lord, if such a thing were to happen, the Green Swamp clan would definitely hit him while he was down in the monster beast palace. Although at that time, Lin Yuan may already have the strength to fight against the Monster King court, at least he can ensure that he can sit firmly in the position of the Monster King in the periphery of the Hengduan Mountains, but who would dislike having less trouble? Call them all over, or? Na Qin blinked his large eyes and asked in a somewhat dazed manner. He was not used to the Monster King's sudden change. After all, although the Black Snake was vicious and merciless, it was definitely a domineering Monster King. Na Qin admired Lin Yuan's courage and strength for daring to challenge a Wisdom Realm monster beast when he was only at the 10th level of the Spirit Awakening realm. However, at this moment, the Black Snake, in this storm that could directly destroy the Stoneclaw Forest, was able to repel the humans' main force without even moving. It was even able to chat and laugh with a few cunning humans. After all of this, in Na Qin's eyes, Lin Yuan was immediately portrayed as a wise man that was not inferior to the three-eyed ape. Even if his methods were not as glorious and could even be called despicable and lowly. However, following this Monster King, the Stoneclaw Forest's future was truly promising. Even though Lin Yuan had been in a state of war since he took office, Lin Yuan was an existence that all the monster beasts were convinced of. Otherwise, no matter how iron-headed the Stoneclaw clan was, they would not have supported Lin Yuan, a monster king that only knew how to use military force. How could I call all of them here? Just a small gesture is enough. Lin Yuan's heterochromatic eyes flashed with wisdom as he sneered. You have to know that these monster kings will help us resist the humans' attack, not because everyone is united and loves each other, but because in their eyes, we are nothing more than shields. I think that as long as we participate, it will be fine. After all, our own brothers still have to resist the attack of the Inferno beasts, right? Yes, as time passed, Lin Yuan gradually understood the reason why these monster kings were so angry. It was not only because the monster beasts in their territory had been massacred, but also because these monster kings believed that the humans' repeated attacks on the Hengduan mountain range were aimed at the Stoneclaw Forest or the Black Snake. The Inferno beasts' attacks were also aimed at the Stoneclaw Forest. Therefore, in their eyes, Lin Yuan was the position of a meat shield. Under these preconditions, these monster kings were exceptionally angry after their territory was attacked by the humans. First, it was because they felt betrayed by the humans. Second, it was because the humans' attack on the Hengduan mountain range was no longer aimed at the Black Snake. However, as Lin Yuan grew stronger, his aura gradually made the Inferno beasts feel afraid. Not all Inferno beasts were iron-headed. Even if they did not have intelligence, they were still a type of living creature. It was their instinct to seek advantages and avoid disadvantages. Therefore, during this period of time, the number of Inferno beasts attacking the Stoneclaw Forest had decreased. On the other side, the Monster Kings were badly battered, but there was nothing they could do. There were even a few territories that had been destroyed by the Inferno beasts. If not for this, the nearby Monster Kings would not have agreed to help so easily. They did not even need Lin Yuan's urging, and the monster beasts under their command would have rushed to the monster beast forest to attack the humans' main forces. They were now afraid that Lin Yuan would not be able to resist the Inferno beasts. Chapter 167. Two flowers bloomed. Two flowers bloomed. The humans who had retreated from the demonic beast forest returned to the campsite that they had set up previously with ashen faces. Every single one of them was covered in blood and flesh, and their auras were also dispirited. Only a few experts like Blind Qin and Lai Shan looked calm and unruffled in the midst of chaos. These humans who had sensed that something was amiss all rushed back to the camp at the same time. When they saw the looks of relief on each other's faces, they could not help but laugh awkwardly. Even if they were a group of demon slayers who lived for their own benefits, betraying their companions was definitely not something to be proud of. Lai Shan placed his thick saber on the ground and looked around at the demon slayers who had rushed back in batches. He could not help but reveal a cold smile on his face. Almost none of the demon slayers from the other cities had returned. Only a few of the smarter ones had retreated with their main forces. Apart from that, the demon slayers from the dynasty, who were bent on inciting a war between the demonic beasts and the Demon Slayers Association, had not retreated either. However, they had indeed retreated to the front lines together. No one knew where they had gone. Are they really going to stir up trouble? Lai Shan rubbed his forehead and muttered with a gloomy face. As a reputable demon slayer of Mountain Rampart City, he did not have any missions to slay demons in other cities. Therefore, it was naturally impossible for him to leave Mountain Rampart City. If those fellows really infuriated the Beast Kings in the periphery of the Hengduan mountain range and the Beast Horde attacked Mountain Rampart City again, he would not be able to escape again. Before Lai Shan could think further, a series of footsteps that sounded like the beating of a drum resounded in his ears. Those demonic beasts. They had actually chased after them? Lai Shan's face turned even gloomier. However, he was slightly puzzled in his heart. If those demonic beasts really wanted to fight to the death with them, a group of them would have bitten them to death when they abandoned their companions and tried to keep them in the demonic beast forest. Although they would not be completely wiped out, they definitely would not be able to escape from the demonic beast forest unscathed. Since they had let them go before, why would they chase after them now? Lai Shan rushed up to the wooden watchtower at an extremely fast speed. Looking at the black mass of demonic beasts in front of him, his face immediately revealed a frightened expression. He blurted out, F***CK. This was no longer as simple as a beast tide. Even if the black snake, white deer, King Kong and cold pool crane, the four most dangerous beast kings did not appear, the rest of the beast kings were all in the charging formation. With just a glance, he saw at least 6 beast kings. The wisdom and lightning realm demon beasts might not have come out in full force, but there were definitely more of them than the demon beasts they had encountered in the forest. There were even more spirit awakening realm demon beasts in the beast tide, and even he felt his scalp tingle at the sight of them. As for wild beasts? Sorry, I don't even have one. With such a terrifying beast tide coming out of the mountains, those wild beasts would feel their limbs go soft just by smelling the scent of demonic beasts. If they were lucky, they could still hide in their nests. If they were unlucky, they would probably meet the beast tide on the way and be trampled into a pile of meat paste. What happened? Hua Sanyang, who had rushed over, frowned and asked with a pale face. I've poked a hornet's nest. Lai Shan grumpily retorted. Hua Sanyang had a lot of bootlickers, but Lai Shan was not one of them. Lai Shan only hoped that this woman with a hot body would die soon. After all, Hua Sanyang had stolen a lot of his business and even pulled away many of his demon-subduing masters. Therefore, the relationship between the two sides was extremely bad. At this critical moment, Hua Sanyang did not want to bicker with Lai Shan. However, when Lai Shan spoke, she quickly realized something. Those demon-subduing masters who had not retreated to the camp must have done something terrible. They had actually angered so many beast kings and forced them to rush out of the beast king court sphere of influence. Should we run? Hua Sanyang swallowed a mouthful of saliva, and the mountain in front of her trembled. Cerebral palsy. Lai Shan rolled his eyes and cursed. He roared, organize the men and defend. While you're at it, release the signal flare and wait for the mountain-blocking city's army to come and support us. If it was an ordinary person, their first reaction after seeing such a large scale of beast tide would be to run. However, as a veteran demon-subduing master, Lai Shan knew very well that the demonic beasts had extremely strong physiques. It would take at least 5 days of continuous travel to reach mountain-blocking city from here. This kind of high-intensity exercise was not suitable for most humans. Whether it was endurance or speed, Demonic beasts were superior to humans of the same level. Unless there was a group of people willing to cover the rear, otherwise, if everyone ran together, the only result was that they would be caught by the demonic beasts and killed one by one. Moreover, when the mountain-blocking city's city guards saw such a large scale of beast tide, they might not open the city gates for these exhausted demon-subduing masters. The only way to survive now was to release the signal flare to inform mountain-blocking city of the beast tide. Then, mountain-blocking city would light the beacon and summon the army of the nearby cities to come and help. If they could hold on until then, they might be able to hold on until the rescue team arrived. However, it might take a little longer, at least half a month. Although it was a little difficult, it was not impossible with the fortifications here. The key was that these demonic beasts were made of flesh and blood. After the initial anger subsided, they would also be afraid of death. Is that the white deer and the cold pool crane? Suddenly, Hua Sanyong's voice interrupted Lai Shan's thoughts. Lai Shan suddenly raised his head and looked at the back of the beast tide. A giant deer with snow-white fur and a one-legged crane with bluish-black fur stood proudly at the back of the beast horde. They coldly sized up the demon slayer who was guarding the wooden and stone camp, as if they were sizing up a bunch of dead people. It's over. Lai Shan staggered. He felt as if the whole world was spinning. The white deer and the cold pool crane had already appeared. Would the black snake and the King Kong be far behind? These four beast kings were not on the same level as ordinary beast kings. The appearance of any one of them could cause them to fall into a bitter battle. If two of them appeared, they might not be able to hold on until the rescue team arrived. If all four of them came, they would be as good as dead. Lai Shan narrowed his eyes slightly. Without saying a word, he picked up the thick-backed machete in his hand and left the watchtower. If he ran away before the other demon-subduing masters could react, his chances of survival would be higher. Chapter 168. By the time Lin Yuan arrived at the human camp, the two sides had already begun fighting. The wisdom-enlightening demonic beasts charged forward, followed by the spirit-awakening demonic beasts. The corpses of both demonic beasts and humans piled up into a small mountain outside the camp. The walls made of wood and stone were dyed dark brown by the blood of both sides. How tragic! Lin Yuan glanced at the tragic battlefield and couldn't help but look to the side. In his previous life, he was born in a peaceful society. Even though he had seen a lot of darkness and blood, he had never been to a battlefield. After all, he was fortunate to be born in a powerful and protective country. Even if the outside world was filled with bloodshed, there would still be people who would carry the burden for him. Although he was living in a jungle where the strong preyed on the weak, hunting and war were two different concepts. Beast King, should we go as well? A dark green scorpion asked with a weak tone. Logically speaking, they weren't attacked by the Association of Demon Emperors, so they didn't hate the humans. If they had to bite the bullet and fight to the death with the humans, they clearly wouldn't be willing. Moreover, the battlefield in front of them was like a giant meat grinder. Even a second-level wisdom-enlightening demonic beast would be instantly killed by the humans if they approached the wooden wall, let alone a first-level wisdom-enlightening demonic beast like it. However, it had no choice but to come. After all, it was Lin Yuan who personally gave the order, and Lin Yuan himself had also come to the battlefield. Aside from a few limited spirit-awakening demonic beasts, almost all of the demonic beasts that came from the Scarlet Flame Swamp were wisdom-enlightening demonic beasts that came from the Scarlet Flame Swamp. Only the four great clans sent a few old demonic beasts that were nearing the end of their lifespans. Although Lin Yuan didn't have any intention of targeting them, it was not Qin who went back to call the demonic beasts. Almost all of the demonic beasts that were born in the Stoneclaw Forest knew Na Qin, so the two sides could still communicate. Na Qin fully displayed the spirit of protecting its own. Even the other three great clans that had old grudges with it turned a blind eye. Only the demonic beasts that came from the Scarlet Flame Swamp joined the battle. It didn't have any intention of lifting its hand. Since we're already here, what can we do if we don't go up? Lin Yuan glanced at Scorpion and said coldly, "Of course, if you're not afraid of being torn apart by other demonic beasts, you can also choose to slack off. I won't stand up for you." In this kind of battlefield, it was understandable to slack off and play dead. After all, not all demonic beasts viewed death as a homecoming. It was just that it was one thing to do this secretly, but it was another thing to be seen through. If other demonic beasts caught you in the act, they might even tear you to shreds. Whoa, Black Snake, I didn't expect you to come too. The Hondon crane at the back of the group slowly walked to Lin Yuan's side. It looked at the cold-faced Lin Yuan and said in a mocking tone, I heard that you dared to challenge an intelligence enlightenment realm beast when you were only at the 10th level of the spirit awakening realm. If it wasn't for the fact that you were already the king of the Stoneclaw Forest, I would have liked you to work for me. When the same words were said to different people, they often had different meanings. If Lin Yuan was only a normal intelligence enlightenment realm beast, then the Hondon crane's words would be too kind. However, as a king of the Hungduan Mountains, the Hondon crane used this kind of tone to talk to Lin Yuan. It was directly suppressing Lin Yuan. It felt that this black snake was not worthy of being called a king of the Hungduan Mountains and that Lin Yuan was only qualified to be its subordinate. Bai Lu and King Kong, who had just arrived, also looked over. Although they didn't directly slap Lin Yuan's face like the Hondon crane, their cold eyes didn't show any kindness. After all, they hadn't directly started a war with the humans. If it wasn't for this black snake threatening them with the purgatory beasts, their territory wouldn't have been attacked by the humans. They also wouldn't have run out of the demonic beast forest to fight the humans while risking being chased by the demonic beast palace. I say, aren't you tired of standing on one leg? Lin Yuan raised his eyelids and said in a stiff tone, Oh right, I almost forgot. I heard that you provoked the three-eyed ape senior and had one of your legs torn off. Since then, you haven't taken half a step into the Stoneclaw Forest, right? When you hit someone, don't hit their face. When you scold someone, don't expose their shortcomings. Lin Yuan just had to do the opposite. The Hondon crane insisted on looking for trouble, so Lin Yuan directly used the Hondon crane's most embarrassing incident back then. The Cold Pool crane was also one of the most outstanding demonic beasts in the Stoneclaw Forest. However, it was very unfortunate that it was born in the same era as a mountain-shaking ape that had awakened into a three-eyed ape. Therefore, during the battle for the position of Beast King, the Cold Pool crane was pressed to the ground by the three-eyed ape and ruthlessly rubbed against it. Furthermore, one of its legs was forcibly torn off. However, the Hondon crane could be considered a wolf. After losing to the three-eyed ape, it decisively led its tribe out of the Stoneclaw Forest and settled in its current territory. After 2 years of recuperation, it successfully killed the old demonic beast king and turned the territory under its rule into a dangerous place where demonic beasts below the wisdom realm didn't dare to enter. Even if demon-subduing masters ventured into the Hungduan Mountains to hunt, they would often choose to avoid the Hondon crane's territory. You mother-asterisk cur! Sure enough, after being exposed by Lin Yuan, the Hondon crane's eyes instantly turned blood red. Its aura suddenly exploded as if it was going to tear Lin Yuan to shreds in the next second. When I was in the Spirit Awakening realm, I dared to challenge a Wisdom realm demonic beast. Old thing, take a guess. Now that I'm in the 2nd level of the Wisdom realm, do you think I'll put you in my eyes? Lin Yuan didn't move in the face of the Hondon crane's aura. There was even a hint of disdain in his eyes. The Hondon crane was in the 4th level of the Wisdom realm and its stats were 100 points higher than Lin Yuan's. If they really fought, Lin Yuan might not be a match for the Hondon crane. However, Lin Yuan dared to be so arrogant because he was sure that Bai Lu and King Kong wouldn't allow the Hondon crane to attack him. After all, the most important thing right now was to fight against the humans. Moreover, if he died, who would help them stop the inferno beasts from the Scarlet Flame Swamp? To put it bluntly, if the Stoneclaw Forest's Beast King changed, everyone would have a hard time. Thus, no matter how arrogant Lin Yuan's attitude was, as long as the inferno beasts were hanging over everyone's heads, Lin Yuan would have a golden ticket to avoid death. Hondon crane, calm down. Our opponent is a human, not a comrade. Bai Lu calmly stood between Lin Yuan and the Hondon crane. His aura slowly spread out and his eyes gradually turned cold. Chapter 169. King Kong, who had been silent all this time, suddenly raised his head and stared at the human camp with burning eyes. His voice exploded like a hive. Something's wrong. Although these humans are resisting very tenaciously, so far, I haven't even seen a single human powerhouse. Hearing this, Lin Yuan, Bai Lu, and Han Tanha restrained their momentum at the same time, and turned their eyes to the camp, which was like a small boat in a storm. It was as if the camp would be destroyed in the next second, and the demon slayers hiding inside would die tragically under the claws and teeth of the demonic beasts. However, this was just a feeling. These demon slayers put up a strong resistance, repelling the attacks of the demonic beasts time and time again. Almost every second, hundreds of demon slayers and demonic beasts would die on the battlefield. The demonic beast horde was still a beast horde, taking advantage of every opportunity to attack. However, the humans were very clear that if they relaxed for even a moment, they would all die. Therefore, whenever a demon slayer fell, another demon slayer would immediately take his place. Could they be plotting something? Bai Lu raised the corner of his eye and said slowly, "These humans aren't good at fighting us demonic beasts head-on. Every demonic beast would need 2 or 3 humans of the same cultivation level to kill them. However, they still haven't lost their fighting spirit. Perhaps, they still have other tricks up their sleeves?" Lin Yuan didn't say anything, but sneered in his heart. Plotting something? In the face of absolute strength, all plots and tricks were useless. These humans were just fighting with their backs to the river. They would die fighting the demonic beasts, and when the demonic beasts broke through the camp, they would also die. If that was the case, they might as well drag a few demonic beasts down to hell with them. These humans are extremely cunning. Their experts haven't made a move yet. It's very likely that they're hiding in the camp, waiting for us beast kings to enter. Then, they'll join forces and quickly kill a few beast kings to intimidate the other demonic beasts. He shifted his cold gaze away from Lin Yuan and said seriously. Lin Yuan raised his eyebrows and said in a low voice, "Haha, have you become stupid from fighting with other demonic beasts? If the humans were as intelligent as you, why would we demonic beasts be struggling at death's door in the Hengduan mountain range? What if we don't want to fight the humans ourselves? Do you think they can hide until all the demon slayers are dead?" "You!" He was so angry that he glared at Lin Yuan again. It couldn't understand why this fellow dared to provoke it. Did it really think that with the white deer protecting it, it wouldn't dare to kill it? Bai Lu gave Lin Yuan a meaningful look. During this period of time, it had investigated Lin Yuan. Apart from hunting, all of the demonic beasts that had died under Lin Yuan's hands had taken the initiative to provoke it. Even that pair of siblings who had mysteriously disappeared after entering the Scarlet Flame Swamp, Bai Lu reckoned that it was because the two sides couldn't divide the spoils equally, which led to the conflict. Right now, the cold pool crane had struck the black snake in anger because of its enmity with the three-eyed ape. It was obvious that the snake had a grudge against it. After this matter, the black snake would probably lie dormant for a period of time. Then, it would wage war against the cold pool crane. Thinking of this, Bai Lu looked at the Hondon crane as if he was looking at a corpse. It was an enemy of the black snake. It seemed like no one had ever met a good end. "Black Snake Beast King, what do you mean?" Bai Lu used his hooves to dig the ground. He forcefully suppressed the uneasiness in his heart and took the initiative to ask. After all, this matter had already blown up. More than 10 beast kings of the Hengduan Mountains had joined forces to form a beast tide to attack the human territory. It was almost equivalent to declaring war. If the demonic beast palace couldn't withstand the pressure, they would all be sold. Therefore, they had to kill all the humans and then quietly return to the Hengduan Mountains. They had to order all the demonic beasts to not spread the news of their war with the humans. This way they could hide it from the world. If the higher-ups asked, they could just say that these humans had died in the demonic beast forest. However, if there were any survivors on the human side, this matter would be of a different nature. The experts on the human side might have sensed that the situation wasn't right and fled in advance. After all, it was a beast tide formed by more than 10 beast kings. It would be difficult to take down the mountain-blocking city, let alone a group of people from the Demon Subduing Master Association. I reckon that they have quietly left the camp and are approaching the mountain-blocking city to report this matter. Lin Yuan's multicolored eyes flickered. There was no change in the tone of his voice, as if this matter had nothing to do with him. Hearing this, the faces of the 3 beast kings immediately turned gloomy. With their understanding of the humans, these treacherous and cunning fellows could really do such a thing. Then what should we do? Bai Lu's eyes were gloomy and he couldn't help but ask. After all, if a single survivor escaped from the human side, the 7 empires would put pressure on the Monster King Court. The Monster King that ruled over the entire Monster King Court would most likely not even put up a struggle, and directly let the humans deal with the dozen or so Monster Kings themselves. After all, As long as they didn't fight, they would only lose a dozen intelligence realm demonic beasts. With the strength of the Hungduan Mountains, they could promote a new batch of beast kings to take over their positions at any time. However, if they started a war with the Seven Empires, the Hungduan Mountains would definitely lose. At that time, the losses would be more than just a dozen intelligence realm demonic beasts. We will personally join the battle and defeat them in one go. Lin Yuan exhaled a breath of cold air and said coldly, "We will rush to the mountain-blocking city as fast as we can. If we can intercept and kill those humans before they reach the city, then everything will be fine. If we can't, hee." The last two sneers were like a heavy hammer that directly smashed the last trace of hope in Bai Lu's heart. Personally join the battle? But what if those humans are really like what I said, ambushing us and trying to kill us to intimidate the other demonic beasts? What should we do? Han Donghee jumped out again, and his tone was cold as he sang the opposite tune to Lin Yuan. Cerebral palsy. This time it was King Kong who spoke. As a primate, although King Kong looked like a boorish warrior, as a close relative of humans, the intelligence of ape demonic beasts would not be too low. Previously, it had the same concerns as Hondon Crane, but after hearing Black Snake's words, it suddenly understood. This time, the allied army of demon slayers attacked the Hungduan Mountains under the guise of targeting Black Snake. Although their military strength far exceeded the limit of what the Stoneclaw Forest could withstand, it was obviously impossible to withstand the fury of a dozen beast kings. If it was only Black Snake or a few beast kings, these humans might still be able to fight to the death. However, when the four of them arrived at the battlefield, these humans no longer had any hope of surviving. How terrifying! Following that, the egret's body once again emitted a myriad of colors. Ding! Host has received a buff. Attack increased by 15%. Ding! Subordinate has received a status enhancement buff. Defense increased by 35%. Ding! Host has been strengthened. Speed increased by 10%. One system announcement after another rang out in Lin Yuan's mind. Lin Yuan even felt a little numb. Host. Lin Yuan status. Heavenly Black Python, transforming into a Flood Dragon. Realm. 12/20 talents. 1. Identify the enemy's position by smell. Cannot be upgraded. 2. Create an accurate image of a 500-meter radius around the body by smell. Can be upgraded. 0/100. 3. Monarch of Water. Your ability to control water has reached a certain level. In front of you now, most methods of controlling water flow are so shallow and inferior. As long as you have a thought, you can deprive your opponent of their ability to control water flow at any time. Can be upgraded. 0/100. 4. Formless Ice. Your control of the ice element has reached a preliminary stage. You are no longer the little trash that can only freeze water flow to injure others. Now, with your water talent, you can even freeze the moisture in the air, turning your ice into formless. Can be upgraded. 0/300. 5. Blood Sacrifice Wish Technique. Use your own blood or other living creature's blood, can be replaced by attribute points, as a sacrifice to make a wish. Whether the wish is fulfilled or not depends on the strength of the wish and the quality of the sacrifice. Cannot be upgraded. 6. Flood Dragon Scale Armor. When the scale armor is in good condition, it can provide the host with a 20% defense buff. Cannot be upgraded. 6. Pseudo-lawful embodiment of heaven and earth. The ancient holy kings ruled the world because they had cultivated to the lawful embodiment of heaven and earth realm. To cultivators, lawful embodiment of heaven and earth is the foundation of their path. After comprehending this skill, you can control the size of your body at will. The smallest size cannot be smaller than the smallest size of your species, and the largest size cannot exceed your original size. Can be upgraded. 0/100. Speed. 50+50 defense. 40+8+48 attack. 60+60 demonic power. 300+300 distributable points. 0 martial arts. 1. Golden body secrets. 70/100. 2. Tyrannical singing. Cannot be upgraded. Skills. 1. Death coil. 279/300. 2. Poison of poisoned wine. 111/300. 3. Thorny whip. 0/300. 4. Blood boil technique. 5 out of 100, 5. All things have spirit. Can communicate with other living creatures through thought. Cannot be upgraded. Items. Damaged feather can be repaired. Petrified eye. After glancing at his status panel, Lin Yuan found that with the white deer's buff, his stats had almost doubled. Even his demonic power, which hadn't increased recently, was the same. At this moment, Lin Yuan's strength had reached the level of a rank 6 demonic beast at the Wisdom Realm. He could see from Xiaofan's status panel that at the Wisdom Realm, regardless of whether it was a human or a demonic beast, every rank up would increase their stats by 50 points. Although it wasn't as fast as the Spirit Awakening Realm, it was still a terrifying number. At the same time, it also proved that at this stage, one didn't completely rely on stats to fight. At this stage, one would often have one or two extremely troublesome techniques. For example, Lin Yuan's Water Monarch, which could directly rob others of their water-type abilities, the White Deer's various buffs, and Xiaofan's teleportation-like Void Walk. Lin Yuan estimated that after activating the Blood Boil technique, although he wouldn't reach the level of a Mountain Lord, he would definitely be able to suppress most rank 10 Wisdom Realm demonic beasts. At this moment, Lin Yuan couldn't help but look at the White Deer with a fervent gaze. This guy was really cool. It was really a big treasure. After the light on its body disappeared, the White Deer's body swayed a few times. Then it cracked a smile at Lin Yuan and said, "I'm sure you can see that I'm not good at fighting, so I'll have to trouble you to do the rest. The buff I gave you will last for about 2 hours. You should know that if those humans spread this matter, it won't be good for either of us. In fact, someone like you who has no background in the depths of the Hengduan mountain range will end up worse than me." You're tuning in to the Xiaofan's Wuxia Tales YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.